Hey, this is Chase Sexton. You're listening to the MotoXpod show.
What's up, you guys? Jeremy McGrath here. You are listening to MotoXpod show.
Welcome back to a special Monday night edition of the Vital MX MotoXpod show presented by Racetech and Yamaha Motor USA. You guys may ask yourself why this is a special edition. Well, it's a special edition because it's on Monday night, really for no other reason. It's not that special. But we will break down the 77th Motocross of Nations from Adderley Basin. We'll talk about a couple of great guests this week that we're going to have on. We've got Beta USA's Benny Bloss coming on. He's going to talk about being back on the bike. We'll probably talk a little bit of Motocross of Nations with him. We'll talk about how he's doing and what he's expecting out of next year. And then we're going to get Matt Buyten on, two-time gold medalist in X Games Step Up, who you guys may know, I'm sure most of you have heard, was recently paralyzed at an event at Lakewood, Colorado at Thunder Valley. He's going to come on and talk to us about how he's doing and how things have been going. And I'm sure that's going to be a pretty interesting conversation to hear just the life change that he's gone through. And obviously, like I said, a lot of Motocross of Nations talk. Before we get into all that, first of all, congrats to Australia. Again, we'll talk more about it, and we'll talk about how we feel about the results and letdowns and excitements, all that good stuff. But first, in studio, as always, working the cameras, working YouTube chat, Scotty Thompson. What's up, Scotty?
Oh, what's going on, man? I feel like the UPS weather, no matter how we feel, we're here. Don't feel too good, but we're going to stick through it and make the show happen.
Say that again, the UPS weather?
The USPS, like, you know how they're like, I can't even think straight.
Rain, sleet, snow, or hail.
That. Thanks,
I got you.
Chase.
Yeah.
That just shows you where my brain's at.
Yeah.
It's all foggy.
Yeah, I've been a little under the weather myself today, so I get that. But at least we'll get it done tonight.
Yeah, we're here.
Also in studio from 710 Designs again, coming in clutch with TJ once again. Just, I don't know what the hell he's doing, man. He just doesn't. He's just not very dedicated. But once again, Chase Moore in studio. What's up, Chase?
Speaking of letdowns, TJ once again,
Yamaha.
You have to.
Lows?
It's actually a high, I think.
Yeah, it's probably
honestly.
a high. It's probably high. After our T-Bolt top 5 this week is favorite hamburgers that aren't homemade, like where you get them. And when he started talking about his list, I was like, God dang, man.
He was legitimately making me mad earlier.
But we'll get to that in a little bit. We're going to start this thing off with the Racetech Open discussion. Racetech is the world's largest aftermarket motorcycle suspension modification company, and they have over 35 years of experience providing factory-level suspension to the everyday rider. Shout out to Checkers from Racetech. He just got married this weekend to Jenny, so I'm really happy for those guys. Congratulations. Really, I don't know how she puts up with him, but she must be a really, really great woman to deal with that. Congratulations, Checkers and Jenny. Racetech Gold Valves provide a plush feel with drastically improved bottoming resistance and increased traction. All Racetech products are 100% guaranteed and made in the USA, guys. Man, I would like to have that improved bottoming resistance and increased traction if I was racing at Adderley Basin this past weekend. That was a gnarly track. Well, I'm going to work on getting my boss and Vital MX co-employee, Michael Lindsay, on the phone. He's going to break down MXDN with us. We're going to work on getting him on the phone. But, just overall, the podium, Australia, USA, Netherlands, Scotty. I mean, I have to admit, man, I'm a little surprised with our second place.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. I knew that with those teams, there was a lot of equality between them. So it kind of just depended on the luck, and it seemed like the luck kind of bounced our way a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if every result I saw was like maybe been the best that we possibly could have got, but it seemed to work out well. And the one thing I noticed was, the teams that got first and second, 5 out of 6 of those riders are U.S. based riders. So it really said a lot for the U.S. series and what we got going on. Cause 5 out of the 6 on the 2 best teams were all U.S. riders.
Well, we'll get into that. I'm going to get our co-host tonight for the first segment here for the Race Tech Open discussion online. He's going to be brought to you tonight by ProX, which is rooted in racing for motocross to off-road and supporting teams such as Ampro, Yamaha, Pro Circuit, Kawasaki, and SLR Honda. They've been supplying quality components for almost 50 years, from complex jobs like an engine rebuild to simple maintenance, including filters, chains, and sprockets. ProX aims to bridge the gap between OE quality and affordability, and you can find ProX at your local dealership or visit pro-x.com and search for parts for your bike. Tonight, ProX brings us from Vital MX, Michael Lindsay. What's up, ML?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, man. So we just started the show. We started talking a little bit about MXDN. I assume you heard Scotty's point about those. Yeah, what did you say? The top 5 of the. How many was it?
The top 2 teams. So 5 out of the 6 riders in the top
right.
2 teams were all U.S.-based riders.
So before we even get in, we really get into the crutch of this thing. What's the term? Crutch?
I don't know.
Crux. That's it. Crux of this of MXDN. ML. One of the topics I was going to ask you is, after watching the race this weekend and all the results, what do you feel about pro motocross nationals versus MXGP riders? You know, those guys being a little better at outdoors than our riders. I mean, it seemed fairly equal this weekend. Our guys, a lot of our U.S. riders rode incredibly well.
I think Tomac rose to the occasion. Webb certainly did. I have a hard time with that one because, like, I still kind of, like, Jet and Hunter are more a product of the GP scene still, to my opinion, even though, like, you know, arguably Jet came over here super early. I still think EMX topped them a lot and things like that. So I don't know. I mean, still as a total, I think the GP guys are better at motocross. It's easy to cherry pick the top 2 results and be like 5 of the 6, but 2 of them were kind of from over there. And then you look at still a lot of GP guys beat Aaron and Cooper. So we're holding our own. We're holding our own.
Yeah. I picked U.S. as 4th, and I still think realistically, had Koldenhoff not crashed, had Hurlings not crashed, Vial had a bad moto. Favre obviously had his issues. I kind of still think we might have been 4th without those things, but that's part of racing. So, I mean, congrats to our guys, but I was a little surprised by 2nd place.
I was after the quali race for sure, and this is why I will continue to remind myself to throw qualifying out the window. Not the top 3 the top 3 lineup surprises me, because if I had to go off of paper, I would have said, you know, France or Australia for the win. Whichever one didn't win would be 2nd. I would have still put U.S. 3rd above Spain and Netherlands, just because we're at a hard pack rutted race. That's not a Glenn thing. Like, Glenn comes off, like, Glenn's a miracle worker for the Netherlands at a sand race. Other than that, he's not usually, and he hasn't had a great year particularly. And then Spain was always kind of hosed from the 250 side, albeit Oriol Oliver, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He killed it for them by getting a 13th in one of his motos. Gave them at least a running shot, because it was dead close coming into the finale. 5 teams with drop scores already in. It was so close going into the final race. Most of the teams were in the 3rd pre-drop, or between like 35 and 41, but with your drop score, 19, 16, 19, 20, and 18 were the scores going into the final race if you already had a drop in.
Yeah.
Which kind of felt like going into the last race, that was every team's goals. Like, they already kind of had their worst score on the board, which for all of them was like they were hoping to drop their worst MX2 score pretty much. So, except for Netherlands, they were looking at dropping one of Glenn's scores. Bear Bales was pretty much looking at dropping an MX2 score. It was really close coming into the end. But also, when I think about coming into the 3rd one, you think of guys in that group that are truly world-class perform under pressure. As soon as the first moto started, I'm like, shit, I think it's going to be Australia. Because you have Jet and Hunter. France, Renault, and Favre have continued to perform amazing at this event. Like, Eli and Aaron are good, but as soon as I saw the Netherlands were kind of depending on Glenn to have a good final race, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, at that point.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah, at that point, you're right. I mean, although, I guess because of track conditions, but I mean, Koldenhoff has had some of the best rides of his career at MXDN, so I wasn't ready to rule him out. Yeah,
even in Spain, like, it's funny how bad they're really, Prado, like the final race for Prado wasn't fantastic. Because I really, looking at, okay, they've got Ruben and Prado going into the final race. I thought they had a better chance they did based off their first races, but both the final motos both went terrible for both
14,
Ruben
12
and
for those
Prado.
guys, yeah. Chase, just this event as a whole, best event of the year. Man, like I've heard talk over the last couple years where, maybe this race is losing its luster to some degree. For me, it's not. It's so freaking exciting. All the best riders in the world, for the most part, are there. There's just something special about this event, as it should be, and it still holds that place, especially after this weekend for me. How'd you feel about it as a whole? Did it hold up?
It does, man. It's one of my favorite events every year.
Yeah.
The people come out, they go crazy. It's a fun time. The racing's been kind of lackluster in some years, but it's always a fun event.
And the track conditions, Scotty, this year were gnarly. That's all he talked about. I mean, we weren't there, obviously, and we'll ask him in a minute, but we kept hearing post-race stuff about the chalk and how the track was different. And, like, I don't feel like it really gave anybody a totally an unfair advantage because it was different than what they normally race on.
Yeah.
Emil may disagree with me. We'll let him go in a second.
Well, I mean, it kind of, I guess in that way, it did kind of even it out because it was just bad. It was kind of bad track conditions. It wasn't like something the way is based on what the weather did, not necessarily just what the GP guys are used to. So in that way I can see but yeah, if the ruts looked crazy on TV, they were gnarly and
if anything, it probably helped us because it kind of formed like Unadilla does. It's just ruts everywhere, slot cross at some points. So it probably helped us more than hurt us.
Emil, is it pretty common is it pretty common for a track like that they prep a little different for MXDN than they would a GP?
I wouldn't say so. It seems like even you look at Red Bud, they brought in their stuff. It was prepped a little bit different for like closer to GP spec. They changed the track this year a little bit, which they haven't done in a while.
They shortened it, right?
I just think they had the perfect. What was that?
They shortened it a bit, didn't they?
Yeah, the GP races overall being shorter layouts, it seems like, which is crazy because Matterley takes up a massive amount of space realistically in that valley. It's just a weird one where like the perfect amount of rain by British standards, it didn't be a downpour. So, I mean, at times it was getting a little slick, but I was actually surprised like how was kind of tacky in certain places, but very slick in others. Still typical to like a GP track. I feel like most of the US rider comments I heard is they had to soften up their bikes a little bit, just because GP tracks to me, I don't know if it's the way they re-prep over the weekend and more racing on the track, they always end up being a little more like stuttery. Even though it was very rutted for a GP track, it didn't feel like a US, like a Buds or a Red Bull where it's like a Buds where it was a slot car track from section to section. You could still move around a lot. Mm-hmm. Like look how many times, like look at Geiser defending against Jet and Eli, like where they would come over that single before that long right-hander where they would all try to stand to the inside. How many times Geiser would land far left, realize he had left the door to the inside closed, and he would just shoot across the track, take the inside back. Like, perfect combination of very rutted and technical in the corners, very technical, but still a lot of freedom to move around and, like, kind of get creative. It was very, very fun to watch. Like, overall, what I keep saying about GP tracks, and I mean, US tracks have leaned more that this way with them trying to saturate them less and get them not be as deep. The racing was just amazing. You had guys where clearly somebody could be on I was impressed how many guys could show the opportunity to latch on to people, like how Eli did to Jet, how we saw multiple other riders do. When somebody would come up on them with more pace, that guys could catch the lines and have enough time to figure out how to grasp onto them. So the racing, that was some of the best racing I've seen at Destinations in so long.
I agree. I was more like I was going to say I was almost a little not. What's the word I'm looking for? Like I wasn't super excited when I woke up early in the morning. I was tired. I was like, oh, this is probably just going to like be like single. I wasn't as excited going into the morning, Sunday morning, as I was once the racing started and saw how good the racing was. And I was like, oh shit, this is like, it was better than I expected. I guess that's the best way to put it. Chase, how about you? Did it live up to your expectations this year? Good job, Scotty.
It was honestly, I think it was better than I expected because I expected it to be just muddy and awful, honestly, from looking at the forecast coming into it. Yeah,
that's another thing is the weather didn't do exactly what we were worried about doing. I think it was like 68% chance of a lot of rain.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
I was expecting just an absolute mud fest, a quagmire, as Phil would say. I think that's like his like word of the year. I've heard him say it so many times. Yeah, it definitely lived up and probably exceeded expectations.
ML, how would this jump ahead a year? Ironman, how do you think Ironman can compare to this year? Can we have it the same type of event with the fan excitement? American fans don't always turn out for these things as well. Do you think Ironman, with as good as that track can be, will live up to what we had this year?
Ironman definitely can be prepped because it has a harder base. I mean, it can be prepped in a way where they could move around a lot, but it could still have some good ruts. I am curious, like, how they added that new back section, like how much they could change the track. I'm curious if the GP guys push them to shorten it, because I felt like even this year they shortened the layout at Ironman a little bit because it was a little on the long side. I'm curious if they'll push them to do that. Having somebody being to the venue for a GNCC, they can host the amount of people. The GNCC gets like 44,000 people. They can pack the place, no problem. I would love to see it because on a national weekend, again, the facility is almost so big that it doesn't feel packed enough. But on GNCC, it does. So I think it will do destinations justice in the sense of being an area that can be very filled by the event. So the atmosphere could be really cool. Indy's 40 minutes away, so there's plenty of places in town, but it's got a huge amount of camping. So I think the weekend activities of the track could be cool. I think overall, like, I know people love Redbud. We've been there twice. In my opinion, of every other national on the circuit, yes, Ironman is the best place they could host destinations available outside of Redbud.
And Chase was just saying is it back in Ernay in 26?
Yes, they announced Ernay in 26. There was also a rumor that they have the next year or two fairly locked down as well. Yeah. I mean, they seem pretty driven to keep going back and forth between USA, France, Italy are definitely the three countries they want to visit the most often. They have good promoters for them. One I'll be really interested is, we have the first Australian MXGP round. I may screw this up. I think it's been like 20 years since they've had GP. Maybe there's been some more recent, but I swear to God, it was like 02 or something I thought I heard. We have an Australian GP next year with the pull of the Lawrences. I kind of wonder if that GP is a success, if we could see an Australian destinations like down the road, like 27, 28, 29, maybe something like that. I think that would be really cool and a cool nod to a country that is not that they've ever disappeared off the world stage, but is making a very strong comeback. Like is really hitting a stride right now on the world stage.
I agree. I think that Australia could pull that off. There's a huge moto fandom there and market. I mean, I don't know, the series might not be as massive, but I think all the fans would show up for sure. Motocross
of Nations at Manjamump would be cool to see that again.
I was just surprised. I didn't realize they would go back to the same track 2 years later. I didn't know if that was a normal thing. I don't remember that being a thing, but maybe.
Look at Matterley. Matterley's become the go-to. I think it is getting tough. It's an expensive event to host from a promotion standpoint. I don't think there's a lot of people that want to take the risk. And I don't think they've learned between doing Lafayette. I don't think there's a lot of venues that do the race justice.
Yeah.
True. I don't mind it. The answer to this guys, do you feel like it just needs to constantly be at really different places, or does it get to the point there's 4 or 5 iconic tracks in the world that really should be able to host this event?
Fair point. All right, let's talk about a couple more things I wanted to bring up. Let's do all things are perfect, Scotty, okay? Hayden factor. Hayden goes instead of Cooper Webb. We could have Chase Sexton or Eli Tomac, doesn't either one in that other spot. Or let's say we'll take Chase and Eli. Whatever. But then also Favre doesn't have a bad moto. Prado doesn't have a bad moto. Viala doesn't have a bad moto. How much of a different factor is Hayden? Does it mix up the results? What is the mix up of the results if Hayden goes and these other guys? All the ifs, ands, and buts.
If it was Hayden, Jet, and Chase. I'm sorry,
not
Hayden.
Jet.
Yeah, I told
That'd
you.
Be great,
I told you not to.
Tomac
and Chase and Hayden. That'd be a hard team to beat. I mean, Tomac. Yeah. I think it's hard to say that Sexton wouldn't have done a couple spots better in the open class, and Hayden wouldn't have done a couple spots better in the MX2 class. So, and they were only a couple spots from winning it. So
yeah,
I think it's hard to say that they wouldn't have.
If everybody else had a good moto, though, I think it probably would have evened out, and we would have probably ended up similar.
That's what I kind of wonder, but when Kida Wolf was interviewed afterward, I think it might have been on Steve's or our post race where he's like, "I'm the fastest I proved I'm the fastest 250 rider in the world.
Yeah, it was ours.
Yeah,
okay,
he's like the other guy didn't show up.
Yeah, I was kind of like,
Hey, I mean, okay, here's my thing, and I want to ask your guys' opinion on this. Motocross of Nations is supposed to be our one race a year to prove your shit. Do you think that whoever wins their goddamn category pretty much can say, like, not fastest man on the planet changes all the time, but like, hey, I'm the best guy in 250 this year. You have to show up to race the event. If you want that prestige,
fair,
then show up and race it.
Yeah.
I get it. It comes across as cocky, but I get Kai's point. Hey, I showed up. Hayden wouldn't even show, and Coolant destroyed himself trying to run away from me, and he destroyed himself again. So I kind of get Kai's point. Like, I won the MX2 world title. I was the best MX2 guy. Why can't I say I'm the best 250 rider in the world?
Yeah, I mean, you have to prove him wrong, and like, you didn't show up to the one race where you could do that. So you can say whatever you want, but it's like being up in baseball or whatever, and the losing team's talking crap. You just say scoreboard, you know.
I'm a Kai fan, but when he said that though, I was still kind of like, all right. But you're right with Hayden not showing up. But I do. What do you think? What I asked though, ML, if Hayden shows up and all everything's perfect, no, does it change much?
Perfect world. I mean, so Webb's result was a 9th, which I've seen. I think for one thing, I was really cool. I'll say this year is I think people recognize that USA showed up. We did our best. I always hate that when we lose, usually our own fans turn on our people. Like, I think everybody respects the effort put in. I had a few people be like, oh, like, again, other guys could have been better than Coop, blah, blah, blah. Coop's 9th, I believe he was the 3rd best 250 rider in that race. Like, that's badass for a dude that rode a 250 for 4 days, doesn't race one in 8 years. Could Hayden, like, theoretically, would Hayden run a Kai-ish pace and get us a somewhere between, like, Simone got a 3rd in his, Kai got a 5th, so, like, they're 2 best scores in 250, so could Hayden range between a 3rd and a 7th? Yeah, of course. So you would think we would, totally possible to help us with the result.
Yeah, I think so too. And I guess now we just got to wait till next year and see how things go at Ironman. But very excited. I want to ask a couple things before we let you go. We got to get Benny Bloss on in a few minutes. But give me a couple things, ML, that really stood out. High points, low points. We'll kind of do the Yamaha highs and lows. And I have one, not a surprise, but something that I thought about later. Anyway, I'm getting all tongue-tied here, as usual. Yamaha Motor USA, a reputation for dominance. It doesn't happen overnight. It's built over decades. The YZ story is over 50 years of iconic machines and groundbreaking innovations. Yamaha took the championship-winning bikes and made them even better because the best don't rest. Check them out at YamahaMotorsports.com or go to your local dealership and check out the new line of Yamahas. One of the things that stood out to me that made me go, is how fast Favre was when he was chasing down Eli in the first moto, but had no goggles. And I think he ended up having black eyes and just from all the dirt hitting him. That was such an impressive ride from Favre that really didn't come to fruition because of a technical issue with goggles. So that was a big moment that stood out how good Favre was in that moto and just on the day. Anything really stand out to you, a high and a low, ML?
I give France credit in general. Like Renault, same thing. Before he crashed in Moto 2, what was he, 4th? He was running with no goggles. I can't remember who was trying to chase him down. Or no, he was trying to chase somebody down. And I waiting for, because I kept mentioning on the broadcaster, but I was like, dude, Renault had no goggles for 4 laps. And he's on the screen.
Yeah. That you start talking about general, Moto 1?
I think Moto 2 he didn't have goggles.
Okay.
I think it was Moto 2 before he crashed. In general, super high to me again is US went against naysayers, people saying we shouldn't do it, this or that. I think the boys performed great. I think dignity on the podium. I've been kind of, I get it, we want to win, but I've been bummed out at years past, how our team looks on the podium because they're so because they lost. I get it, we want to win, but I think this team said they were kind of backs against the wall. Super proud of the performance because that's a performance in years past could win you destinations. The scores can be low 20s. The scores have been in the 40s and won this race. So super stoked for that. The obvious rides, Jet's ride was amazing. Eli's ride I thought was super badass for how little he's raced outdoors the last 2 years. Some of the ones that are oddball beyond that. Kyle Webster, after crashing his brains out multiple times in the qualifier to put his shit together and put up the one score they needed to get a good start. Good on Kyle for performing under pressure. I can't even pronounce his name. I think it's Latvia, Carlos Rosales. got an eighth in the 250 race and was beating Webb. And I know people are
yeah.
texting me like, who the fuck is this guy? He moved up from EMX early this season because of the injuries now in MX2. He did. I thought he overperformed. Ferrado, 7-9. He's been hurt almost the entire season. He kind of, in my opinion, overperformed. Simone Langenfelder's third. Huge moment there. Just kind of list the guys that like. Conrad Muse is sixth place.
Yep.
And then he broke his ankle in Moto 2 and still got 19th.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Muse basically carried GB because GB's luck does not get any worse somehow. Muse getting that sixth in the first moto. I think he passed AP straight up and gapped him.
Yep.
That was a big moment. Enzo Love's coming back in 11th. But before you let me ask you this: like, who, if you have to name one person for the weekend, who is the most standout performance for you guys?
Well, that would be, we have the Barnett Clutch Performance coming up in a little bit, but I wrote down Conrad Muse and Harrop. I thought both those guys, Mikhail Harrop, I thought both those guys overperformed from what I would have expected.
Yeah, especially with Harrop's first, like, I think he crashed. Harrop, yeah. He crashed both races, like, right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And came back and did well. And that, I was going to say something, that was one of my highs, the Denmark team. The other two riders are EMX guys. They're super young. And I think they ended up, 11th, something like that?
Yeah.
Like, that's
11th overall. Yep.
Yeah, that's super good for those kids and with what happened with Harrop.
Yeah. Scott, you got anything before we get Benny on? We want to finish up with that?
Yeah, I noticed
we'll finish our highs and lows.
Yeah, while I was watching it, I'm super biased towards the U.S. because like that's all I really was focusing on, and I thought that even though I thought he should have won the race 3, I thought Tomac really stepped up, and I
thought he should have won even though he got dropped.
No, when he got the whole shot.
Yeah. I got you. I'm with you.
Yeah, he probably could have or should have stayed in the front, or maybe couldn't have. But I wanted to see him stay in the front.
Okay, there we go.
But I think overall he stepped up, and that's the only reason we're on the podium is because of him.
The whole shot. I mean, that was
cool.
That was good because they kept talking about ML, like how he usually takes. JT just kept talking about how he usually takes a little while to get going, but he definitely stepped up to the occasion of what he rode probably outside his comfort zone on the weekend.
Yeah, he was fired up.
Yeah, and then same thing. Jet has not raced that bike outdoors to come through. They'll pack both motos. Like to me, of course, Jet is the best guy of the weekend. Yes, Tim win 1-1, and this is no offense to Tim whatsoever. He has no pressure that anybody else has. His team is never.
Right.
No, not to say that Slovenia can never win. He's just there racing for himself.
Yeah,
that is not happening for Eli. That is not happening for Jet. Jet is carrying the weight of his nation has never won. Australia is now the 11th country to win this race. That's
wild.
Huge.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That
Geyser
doesn't have to worry about
that's a very good point.
Managing. I need to
like I said, Tim is riding for personal glory, not for us. But there's no pressure if Tim has a race like Jorge and just kind of has a bad end of that's such a weird end to Jorge's MXGP career in a sense. But to like in Tim's case, not that the race he put on wasn't badass, but like no pressure whatsoever, no weight on him. Just show up, do your thing. Jet is carrying the weight of a nation more than I would say. Like I said, there was kind of a doubt against U.S. where Jet is like carrying country weight to like finally pull it off.
Sure. Yeah. Well, congratulations to those guys. I mean, well deserved, hell of a race. And it's like I said, best event of the year in my opinion.
Yeah. I was on the Australian team, Australia. I thought it was, I get why they did it, but I don't know why it kind of peeved me that Jet was in the open category.
Why?
I don't know. It just,
he was fresh. He hasn't been racing.
No, I get why they did it.
Smart strategy.
I get why they did it. It just threw me off. I just thought, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a team race. And it's funny. I saw people still bitching about it, but it was like the turnaround time at this is less than a U.S. national, and Hunter's been struggling in the second moto, so they gave Hunter that recovery opportunity. And
yeah, I 100% agree with why they did it. I heard that in the review, and it made sense. But it was just like it's like one of those unwritten rule of nations. Like if you're the fastest guy,
I don't think it is.
I don't know. I might be delusional. I just thought it just rubbed me the wrong way.
If you're racing, like I said, if you're who at the end of the day, again, MXGP, cool. Tim Geiser won both motos.
Yeah.
Again, no offense to Tim. who gives a shit?
Yeah, right.
Australia won. Even if, okay,
I agree.
I'll ask you guys one
agree.
more thing before I leave,
Yeah.
and this is my opinion, just thinking of how a rider would feel in their head. Let me know if you guys feel the same. You see Tim make that move 2 corners to go, you're jet. You're like, I have to check up because if it kills us both, like, I might lose this whole thing. We're only 3 points up. Like, he can't afford to get destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So still tries to make it happen. He goes over the finish, and they go over the next 2 jumps, and Jet's just riding alongside, like, staring at him. And I'm wondering in Jet's head how much of it is, you pussy, you almost killed me for the win. F you, do I even congratulate you? And then probably finally thinking, who gives a shit? I just won the goddamn nations for my country for the first time ever.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit that this guy won. Like, that was kind of going through my head because he was riding along staring at him. I'm like, wonder how much he's like contemplating, like, am I mad at this guy or do I even care right now?
Yes.
Like, does it matter? Because I just won this whole damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with Australia never winning it. Like, that probably crossed his mind for about 2 seconds, and he said, "Oh, fuck it, I don't care."
One last thing, there's just like the weight of your Hunter and your Jet. There is all of this storylines about how you guys are doing things nobody else has done. Brothers, the records the Jet's breaking, the standards he's setting, all these things. But in their case, I'd love to ask them, it's like, that has got to feel amongst the highest of highs of their career. Like, you two as brothers just put a country in the top spot that's never been able to do it. Like the Reed, Metcalf, Burner era, like those guys couldn't do it. Weirdest luck ever they used to have. But like Jen Hunter, not single-handedly, like Webster had to perform, but like you look at Webster's result, he got them at least something on the board, but Hunter and Jet had to step up and basically beat the world's best together to make that happen.
Yeah, they were kids like when all the years that Medi and Burner and Reed were going,
So
and
they were watching it all. Yeah,
they were watching it. It had to feel awesome, and like, but your point to Webster, like he had to have so much pressure because everybody else kind of was expected to do what they did.
Sure. But to close out our time with ML, Scotty, to your point, I think it was just scared. He was scared of Geyser and Hurlings.
Yeah.
He was running.
You said it.
No, a lot of other people said it. I'm just sort of being sarcastic.
Yeah, I know. I completely understand why they did it. It was, I don't know.
Good times. Well, ML, thanks for jumping on here for a little bit with us, man. Guys, go to Vital MX. You can check out our post-race shows. Check out our podcast feed and the homepage at vitalmx.com. A lot of good stuff up there. A lot of content from this weekend. Lewis is over there schmoozing with all his friends and family. He's happiest he's ever been. So we got a lot of good stuff up. Anything, what do you got going on at Vital? What's coming up new for you this next week?
450 shootout comes out this week. We're doing 250 shootout in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Great interviews on the site. DeWolf tells Lewis exclusively that he's coming to ride Supercross here in the US in 2 weeks. We're hoping to get video of that. We're trying to work that out. Also, a great interview where Hurling says that he thought Jet Lawrence would be faster than he is. That might be taken a little out of context, but that is the cap quote on the homepage. I need to listen to the interview for myself.
Yeah, well, no, he pretty much said he expected him to be a little bit faster.
Oh, highlight of the weekend was the Tommy Searle interview from Press Day.
Oh yeah, that was good. Oh no, I didn't hear the Press Day.
Have you been over there looking to suck Jeffrey off, looking through the window, going, Jeffrey?
VitalMX.com. Tons of good stuff up there, guys. Go check it out. ML, thanks for jumping on here with us, man.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, you too. Bye. That's Michael Lindsay tonight, brought to you by ProX. We got to jump and get Benny on here in a second, but we'll get back to our Yamaha highs and lows. And yeah, you're giving me shit for acknowledging the
We don't bring it up again.
Well, no, I did it because it was super loud and there was like a crash in the headset. So
that was my bad. I was trying to.
That's all good.
I was trying to do my job.
It's all good. Trying to do your job.
Yeah.
Just in cameras.
Yeah.
For those that need to be watching on YouTube. And guys, don't forget, MotoXpodShow@gmail.com. You guys can send us in the emails on your segments, thoughts on all these different things we're talking about, like our highs and lows, EVS picks for the next race when there is an upcoming race, et cetera, et cetera. But hit us up, MotoXpodShow@gmail.com, and let us know you're listening. Let us know who your favorite football team is. Hopefully it's not the Kansas City Chiefs, as is the team of this next rider, who will be brought to you tonight by FXR, which is designed by racers for racers. With industry-leading fit, finish, and performance, progression is the name of the game with every new piece created. At FXR, we push our brand to the next level to provide you with the best products possible. Used by Muck Off, FXR, Club MX, Yamaha, Mike Brown, Brock Tickle, Chris Kiefer, some guy named Benny Bloss, and many more. FXR has core motor routes, so you can visit fxrracing.com or go to your local dealership. and check out the complete line of 2025 FXR riding gear. Tonight, FXR brings us from Beta USA, Benny Bloss. What's up, Benny?
How we doing?
I mean, I've been better.
Even better.
Yeah, I mean, my Niners keep losing, Benny.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on.
I was gonna say
Did they lose this weekend?
Yeah, with about 30 seconds left. They were up.
to the Cardinals.
Yeah, they were up by 2. I was driving, so I didn't get to watch it, but they pressured Purdy, and while he was throwing, and it just went like straight up in the air. They intercepted it, kicked a field goal 1-1.
Wow.
Yep.
Lost to the Cardinals. A little embarrassing, I'm not going to lie.
Dude, it's been an embarrassing start to the season, but you know what that means. They're saving the best for last.
Okay.
Not being in football
Imagine if
is,
they don't make the playoffs.
Ugh. I mean, I'm sitting
2
across.
division losses is tough.
Yes, it is. The Rams, yeah, and they should have won the Rams game too and lost at the end. But I'm sitting across from a Cowboys fan.
Great game last night.
And we know that they're going to start off strong. They're going to look good, and the whole Cowboy Nation's going to go Super Bowl, baby, and then they'll lose in the first round.
I'm not that fan. For the record, I'm not that fan. But anyways, nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, all right. We'll get past the football stuff, and then Benny's team, they just have all the referees in their pockets. So.
That is true.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so tired of hearing that.
Well, so are the New England Patriots fans for 15 years.
I don't know, man. I just feel like you have to be in the game, and they're in the game, and they'll get 7 calls against them, and then they get 1 call for them, and they're on their side.
There's a lot of haters when you're on top, man.
That's the way it works.
The Falcons game, there were 4 penalties on the Chiefs in the next drive. Like, Falcons had a chance to win. They just couldn't do it.
Right.
Yep.
That's just the way things work, man. But all right, let's get into some motocross, I guess. We'll stop talking about football. Benny, you're back on the bike. I think over 100 days off the bike. You did something like 10 surgeries on your arm after the injury. Here's something that you may not remember. I didn't remember this until I was doing some research this morning. You were on our show the night before you got hurt, I believe. Was it a Wednesday or a Thursday that you got hurt? Because it was announced Thursday.
I got hurt. I got hurt on a Wednesday. I got hurt on Wednesday.
Yeah, that was the day after you talked to us.
I think that was like the first show I did with y'all.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garth.
Yeah. Because I was going back and trying to see when the last time you were on, and it was April 30th, and I think the announcement was the 2nd.
Oh no! I honestly don't remember that. I got hurt on the 1st.
Okay, yes.
I do know that.
That was the day after, dude.
Wow.
Maybe don't ride tomorrow.
Yeah, don't ride tomorrow.
I'm riding tomorrow.
Yeah, oh no.
Anyway,
we need updates, Benny. We need text updates after each moto.
how are we feeling, though, now you've been back on the bike for, a little over a week or 2?
So I've been back. So I started riding the day after Ironman. So I've been back on the bike for a while. I rode outdoors at my house for a bit, and then I flew, or I guess I didn't fly. I drove to California last week, and today was my first day on Supercross. Went better than expected. I wouldn't say that I thought I was going to feel rusty, but I figured I would.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's been since October, whatever that was, May 1st or whatever, since I crashed. That's the last time I rode Supercross track. So I will say that, wow, does the suspension feel stiff when you haven't rode Supercross? Like, you've been riding outdoor stuff. When you get onto a Supercross bike, it's like, oh my gosh. Like, how am I going to ride this? But I'm on my same setup that I finished on. So, no, today went good. I was very pleased. No issues with my arm, which was obviously nice. And yeah, it's been a wild summer. That like 3-week span where I was in the hospital was, I'd say, hands down the worst 3-week span of my life. But we got through it. And even like, I don't know, maybe a week and a half after I got out of the hospital was still just horrible. So
physically or mentally
really
or both?
Physically and mentally, I would say both. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just, like, in the hospital, I was physically it was bad, right? Yeah. But in the hospital, it was probably worse mentally, just
just because it's like I didn't know how long I would be there. Like at first we thought we would be there for 2 days and I would have 2 surgeries. And oh man, the first 3 days were terrible so I ate breakfast Wednesday. Or I guess I had lunch Wednesday and then I went out and I crashed and go to the hospital. They're like, don't eat. And I told them like, I'm not having surgery here anyways. So I ate after I got out of the hospital. Well, it made me sick because the medicine they gave me made me sick. So I threw up all my food. Well, then I have to have surgery the next day, and I'm flying to Colorado where they're like, hey, don't eat after midnight. So fly to Colorado, don't eat all day Thursday. Have surgery Thursday night, have to have surgery again Friday night. So they're like, hey, don't eat after midnight. Well, I was sick all night anyway. So then I ended up not eat. I went from like Wednesday lunch and I didn't eat again until Saturday breakfast, which was horrible.
Yeah.
So that like already started off the situation bad. And then it was, I didn't know how long I was going to be there. And it was I'd have surgery and then they'd be like, well, we didn't get your arm closed up. So we're going to wait a day, 2 days, and then you're going to have another one. And then maybe you'll get out. And it was like surgery number 6 going in. They were like, you're going to be done. Like we're getting it closed up and you're going to be out of here. And I remember waking up in the recovery room and I felt my arm and I felt like the tube from the wound vac was still attached. And I just like broke down crying, just had a full mental breakdown. And so it was like tough. It felt like I was never going to get out. And so mentally it was horrible. I never really had like depression or anything. But definitely went through a little bit of that. And then obviously physically it was horrid. Like the pain was terrible, but they had me on so much medicine. It was crazy just to keep me comfortable. And the first couple nights I couldn't sleep at all. So then they're just drugging me up a bunch. So then I get out of the hospital. I had nine surgeries for the 3 weeks. Right. And then get out of the hospital and I just assumed that I could just stop taking the pain medicine when I didn't really need it. And so that put me in a whole other world of like withdrawals that I'd never had before. Mm-hmm. My body just went through a lot for that 3 week span. And then like I finally got healthy and got better and I was cycling a bunch and then I got hardware removed out of my ankle. And so it was like, had to go under for surgery. I didn't think it was going to hurt and it hurt a lot. So pretty miserable, but we're through it now. We're healthy and I'd say I'm about as normal as I'm going to get.
No comment.
Benny, when you go through something like that, and it's I'm glad to see that you worked through it, and it has its ups and downs, and adversity is defines you in the later as you're getting older in your career and stuff. When you get back on the bike, does that subconscious voice of, hey, like, you don't want to go through that again, does that get louder as you're going through your career, or do you just kind of just shut all that off when you get on the track?
Pretty much just shut it off when you get on the track. I feel like if you're having thoughts about that, like while riding, that's
you're pretty much done.
Definitely not a good thing to be having. That's probably when something is going to happen. I mean, I definitely, I don't know. It's weird. Like I had a point during the summer for a while where it was like, I wanted to ride, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I need to ride. Mm-hmm. Right. Like I wanted to ride, but I wasn't like, I'm going to come back early so I can try to ride. And then I went to Ironman to watch and it was like, I have to ride. And thankfully I got released a couple days before that. So I was able to ride, when I got home from Ironman, but, I wouldn't say so. If anything, maybe once I had a kid, you kind of think about that stuff a little more, but I mean, not really. Like as soon as you get your year on, it's like that. Yeah. Those thoughts go out the door. Yeah.
So, coming to a new team, new bike, what was the area on that bike that needed the most improvement, and how much better has that bike gotten since you've gotten on it?
Man, it's gotten a lot better. It wasn't terrible. Like when we first started, my suspension was way too soft. I was also pretty fat, so that did not help my suspension situation. And I may or may not have lied about how much I weighed at the time to my suspension guy.
Been there.
So the suspension was, real soft at first, and it took us a while to get that figured out. And then it's pretty much maybe like the second week we rode, we switched some stuff with the engine that made it a lot better. And then we were just, I don't know, man, I rode a lot in the off season last year. So, and I'm pretty hard on stuff. So it was like, just ride as much as you can and see how much stuff you break, so we know when stuff needs to be changed. And ultimately, though, I don't think there was anything that was like, oh, this it's bad. I think kind of everything on the bike just needed like little tweaks to where like now the bike's really good.
Yeah, I've heard they were kind of slow, but they always handled really well.
Yeah. See, I've never rode like a production 450 from Beta, so I don't know what that feels like.
It's crazy to me that y'all don't ride a production based bike just to see where the bike's at and then try to go from there, and they just throw all kinds of parts at it. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't know. We started with a good engine, and that was pretty much, they were like, here, start with this.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think, and we could just kind of tweak that from there. But I've wanted to ride a production one. I just haven't ever been in the situation to ride one.
Now, when you got back on the bike and you were doing some outdoor stuff, I saw on your Instagram, I think, that you were on a two-stroke some. Was that just like one day, or did you start on a two-stroke, or you kind of...
I was on the two-stroke for like 4 days.
Okay.
And I remember day one, because I rode that last summer a lot.
Yeah.
I rode that two-stroke.
That's what you started on, right?
Yeah. So the suspension is super soft on it, and which I'm not a fan of. But I called my mechanic like the second day on the two-stroke, like after the warm-up, and I was like, hey, man, I need you to put a 450 in a crate like right now and like drive it here. Like I need a 450. The two-stroke is fun. Don't get me wrong. The two-stroke is a lot of fun. I'm just not a two-stroke guy.
No.
Me either.
There is nothing like a 450.
Yeah, I'm not talented enough to ride a two-stroke, so
same.
It is. I will say it is good for good to get on it, because you kind of have to like relearn how to ride properly. So last summer I loved riding it, and then I rode the 450 all year, and I was like, yeah, no, I want the 450.
Sure.
Yeah, the 450
is just good.
Yeah. I always rode two strokes growing up because it's just what we had, and when my riding style got super lazy when I got into 450.
Point shoot, baby.
Yeah,
two strokes and androids. Terrible.
So with the bike getting better, and really you had some good results in Supercross. You had an 8th in Nashville, 10th in Daytona. You could drastically, other than crashing 3 times at Birmingham, that was pretty funny, but you could see your riding improving in the same corner, by the way. You could see your riding improving and the team coming around. So with where you're at right now, it's still a few months out, how much more prepared, how much better do you think you're going to feel going into 25 Supercross, like percentage-wise?
Percentage-wise?
Yeah, so like if you were, let's say, 50% your best, where do you think you'll be this year?
Quite a bit better. Just like starting where we finished, bike-wise, is huge. Because, going in last year, I knew absolutely nothing about the bike. The team knew about the bike, but not like that much as far as Supercross goes, right? So, like now I really know the bike. I know every little thing that it does. And I'll say already, like my first day today was about 99% better than my first week or even second week last year. I already feel comfortable and good on the bike, and I've never made the main at A1, which is embarrassing. We actually talked about that today. So never.
Wow. I would never have guessed that. You could have put $100 on it, and I would have said, no, there's no way.
I've also never made that main at A1.
Yeah. I got close. And then I woke up.
I've
I've
always
the main.
crashed a bunch at Anaheim, and
Yeah.
I've just never I've never made the main, which is crazy. Even I don't know if I've ever made, I guess, the opener, because even when we raced in Houston, I crashed in the heat race and I crashed in the LCQ in 21.
Gee,
I
come
would
on,
never
baby.
have guessed
No.
that. That's crazy.
I have made a light opener though, so just not Anaheim.
So I'm guessing the goal for this next season is to make A1.
That's my goal for Anaheim is make A1 and then
Go from there.
Yeah. It's a good,
Yeah.
be a good start.
and
Yeah.
the goals will get drastically better from there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, going into last season, we had I got on the bike, I went home for Christmas, and then I rode Thursday, so a week and a half, I guess, before Anaheim. And so Thursday, I get on the bike, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And they were like, "Well,
What
the
had happened
frame is
was-
actually different." Yeah, so we got like an all new bike compared to like the pre-production bike that I had been riding.
I remember hearing that now.
Yeah, so a week before, or a week and a half before, we get this new bike, and it made the suspension, everything was way different, feeling way different. And I just happened to absolutely crash my life away on that Thursday. Full endo over the finish line and
Ooh.
into the berm. And so then it was like I had rode the bike maybe 20 minutes before that. And I was able to ride for maybe another 20 minutes the next week, like leading up to Anaheim, just
Yeah.
to make sure that I would be able to race. My arm was beat up. And so going into Anaheim, I was super unprepared, which, we didn't really want that to happen, but
Of course not.
kind of the situation we got thrown into.
I guess
So I'd like to think that this year we'll be a lot more prepared.
Yeah, I would think so.
I guess I'll give you a pass for missing A1 this past year.
Benny Bloss tonight, brought to you by FXR. And I just remembered, you're not going to be in FXR next year, are you?
I don't know. I don't
Oh.
have a gear deal at the moment, actually.
You don't? Okay, all
I
right.
do not. I've actually been working on that
Thought I'd
aggressively.
heard something different, but okay.
Yeah, no, I do not have a gear deal as of right now.
All right. Well, maybe we can get you back in FXR then.
I'm working on them. Been trying to talk to him,
All
blow
right.
him up. I'm sure Brad's tired of seeing my name pop up on his phone, but
I'll text Brad. I'll get it done. I want to be the Mathis. I want to be the Mathis for once. I want to make something happen.
S&P 2025.
Go ahead, Scotty.
Benny, with the a couple weeks ago, you were on Pulp, and it was awesome to hear you and your dad were on there, and it was
I don't
a
listen to
good
that
time.
show.
But anyways, and you've talked about the bike getting better and everything, and Steve kept saying that you were like not really a factory rider, and like you're on a factory team, and like the question I'm getting to is that has the effort around the bike and the team that you're involved with, how much has that changed going from what you've done previously to the factory support? And is it, I know you've not been on another factory team, but do you feel like it's on standard with what everybody else is doing effort wise?
yeah, I mean, it's definitely the most factory team I've ever rode for. I would consider it factory.
Right.
I was not pumped with Steve about that because he just kept bringing it up too. He kept saying it over and over.
I was like, he's on
I
a
mean,
factory team. Like he said, it's a factory
Yeah.
bike. Yeah.
I would consider it a factory team. I think they would consider it a factory team. And I mean, our ability to do anything we want, I think it makes it a factory team.
You probably have a little more freedom because you're not locked in with like brands that they've used forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So I was scrolling your Instagram earlier and saw Lucas on a Stasic. So how far are we out on Cobras and full blown mini dad?
Hopefully far out from Cobras and full on mini dad. We actually did get him one of those little husky, like I think it's called an EE2 or something.
Oh
Or
yeah, the
E2
small
maybe.
e-bike.
Yeah, it's like a P-Dub, but it's an e-bike.
Yeah. My buddy's daughter's got one of those. They're pretty sweet.
Yeah, so we did get one of those.
2 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And we just got to California, so we're going to start riding it here out at the Supercross track, out in the in the parking lot. But
I was going to say,
I would say that I'm more than likely going to be full blown mini dad at some point in the near future.
Good deal.
We were doing the full BMX thing every week. We'd go on Tuesdays and he'd practice, and then he'd go and race on Fridays on on the Strider.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're there to have fun, and that's it, right? And there's like full on 50 dads in the balance bike class.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
I don't know if you know this. It's not a real, it's free, and everybody gets a trophy. It's not like a points class. And there was this one dad that was just like screaming at his kid, "You gotta go! You gotta go!" And Luca's in front of him. He's like, "You gotta catch him!" And I'm just sitting there like, "Come on, Luca, good job." All I care about is if he has fun, right?
Yeah.
And I walk into the car and I hear the mom tells the kid, "You did so good, honey." And the dad was like, "Not in the second one, you didn't." And I'm like, man,
I've seen it, dude.
Your kid is 3.
Yeah. How long do these dads start showing up with like box vans and stuff for Stay
It's
6?
coming. It's coming. I mean,
12 Stay 6.
Tony Alessi's
different tires.
Tony Alessi's got a whole series in Cali going.
I know.
He's like way off into it.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But yeah, they sponsor that thing, or they promote the one at Glen Helen. So, but yes, that's funny. Benny, before we stop talking about, before we get into MXDN just for a few minutes, there's also a rumor of another teammate. Have you heard anything? I mean, I'm hearing Oldenburg's going to be part of Beta USA. I don't know if that's confirmed, if you know anything.
I have no idea.
Man, you don't know shit,
No.
Benny. Why did I get you on here?
I have no idea. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't
Noted.
know.
All right.
I'm not in the business side. I just ride the dirt bike.
Yeah.
I can say that I went to the track today and I rode the beta test track and I rode by myself. So
you're in Cali now.
I am in Cali.
Is that a full-time thing or just for off season?
I will be here in Paso, where beta is located, until February, I guess.
Okay.
I am going to go to SoCal for the month of November to do boot camp with Davey and Juju, and maybe a couple others. But I will be in California until February, and then I will go back to Oklahoma.
How's the wife feel about that? I mean, I'm assuming the family's with you, or she works. Doesn't she have a full-time job?
She does not work at all.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of Cade's wife. Cade's wife's military. Yep. Okay. Sorry.
No, my wife does not work. Well, I guess she does work. She takes care of our child.
Sure.
Luca seems to be all right with the California thing. Haley. She just gave me a weird look, so I'm going to assume she's not into it.
Okay. Well,
I will say that it's pretty nice at home right now in Missouri. Like when I left, it was like 70s, and I'm currently sitting in a parking lot looking at my temperature gauge on my van, and it says 101 degrees.
yuck.
Not a big fan of that, if I'm being honest.
No.
But so we're staying in like Airbnb while we're here. And so we've been at an Airbnb like decently close to the track for the last week and a half. And Friday we moved to Morro Bay, which is like the beach. And I've been looking at the weather there, and it's like low 70s every day.
There you go.
Yeah.
The wife can't be too upset about being at the beach, so that'd be okay.
Yeah, I know that I'm pretty stoked to go to the beach and like hang out there. The drive to the track, hour 20 every day, which isn't ideal.
No.
But I don't even care. The beach is nice.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I know you're with the family, so let's just do a couple MXDN questions real quick, and we'll let you go. I want to start with all the drama that happens every year lately with the picking of the team. Do you have an opinion on that, of going, not going, if you're asked to go? What are your thoughts?
I mean, if you're asked to go, I don't know how you don't.
Okay.
But you have to go, right?
I mean, I would think you'd want to, unless you just go every year and you're like, dude, I need a year off. But yeah, I would think, and I'm going to just accept Hayden's, hey, I needed to get surgery and he didn't go. I'll give him on that one. But when a guy just doesn't want to go, that bums me out for sure.
Yeah, no, I would probably cut off both of my legs after the race if it meant that I got to go race for Team USA, no matter where it's at.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
I feel like if you're asked and you don't, like, I understand Hayden's situation, he had to get hardware taken out, but like if you're just like, no, I don't want to go,
yeah,
I feel like maybe you should just never get asked again. You know,
I can't really
be
argue
on the band.
that. Yeah,
be on the band list for 4 years.
There you go.
What did Sexton say? If you don't go, you can't go the next year.
Go next year.
I feel like that's cool because especially with it being in the USA this next year,
we're gonna have no problems finding a team.
Everybody's gonna want to go.
Everybody's gonna want to go at Ironman.
Of course.
Everybody.
Yeah, that's not really fair for the guys. Like a guy like Cooper who canceled his vacation, dropped down to a bike he hasn't been on basically since 2016 and said, I'll go.
Yeah, I think he lost like 10 grand on that Hawaii vacation on top of what it cost him to go do that.
You got to feel for Cooper too. He's done it, 3 times now and hasn't been on a winning team, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He deserves a win.
Yeah, I mean, we probably should have won in 16 when he fell and then Jason got landed on. But I mean, not probably. We were going to win had Cooper not fallen, which was, he talked about that on an interview I did with him last week. So, but yeah, and then that year he had raced the 250 all year, and then for Nations they put him on a 450 for Open, so he wasn't even on a bike he'd ever really rode. So he had a disadvantage there too. But okay, last question then. Just overall thoughts on the MXDN. What stood out? What were you most impressed by?
I don't want to say if I was most impressed by this, but I mean, Eli Tomac was ripping. I felt like he should have been on the team the whole time, but I was pumped with how he rode. The track looked nasty. Will say that, but I don't know. It was really good racing.
Yep.
That last moto was pretty crazy.
Dude, I thought the whole weekend was just amazing. The how impressive, and then certain guys like a Favre or a Coldenhoff who had bad motos, and it just, as usual, it gets mixed up. You don't know what to expect. The best of the best, and everybody's putting in everything they've got, and maybe even a little more than normal to go do it for their country. It's just an amazing event.
Yeah, I mean, like with how good the racing was, like you can't ask for anything better than that. It was awesome to watch.
100%.
Awesome to watch. I will say, this is a little off topic, but the Chiefs have already scored, and it's 7-0.
Time to let you go. Yeah, well, I mean,
who dat?
Gross. Benny, thanks for jumping on here with us. Tell your wife thanks for sharing some of her time with us. Appreciate you, and yeah, it's always fun to talk to you. Good luck to your team tonight. I don't really care until we get to the playoffs. As long as it's not the Cowboys, I don't care. I hate the Cowboys.
Niners might not even make the playoffs. The Cowboys definitely aren't making the playoffs.
Shut up, Benny. We'll be fine. We're about to turn it on.
Cowboys are going to be third in their division, actually.
Scotty said we them boys. That's what I heard.
All right, Benny,
we won last night. The upcoming schedule's rough though.
Yeah. We'll be fine. We'll talk in a month or two, and we'll see where everybody's at.
Yep, sounds good. We'll still be undefeated. So,
Jesus.
Yeah,
I'm sure with the refs in their pocket, NFL's already got it predetermined.
Oh my goodness!
I love that stuff. I don't actually believe that.
Can't stand it.
Yeah. All right, Benny. Have a good night. Tell your wife I said hi. We'll talk to you soon. Come out to Glen Helen for Vet Nationals and come watch. I'm gonna go try to take Mathis down.
I could maybe do it.
All right.
But, yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay, man. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys.
Benny Bloss tonight, brought to you by FXR. Always a good time with Benny. Good stuff. Yeah, that was good. I like Benny.
Benny's cool.
I meant to tell you guys that I had realized he got hurt the day after he was on our show.
I remember after you said it. I remembered. I'm pretty sure that was the first show I did with y'all.
We did not have. We actually have not had a great track record the last few months.
It's not as bad as Steve's with dinner.
Yeah, we're not that level yet, but every time like we'd have a guy on the show, and then I'd see something happen to him that weekend. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure RJ crashed after getting on the show with us. or something. He did
It
something.
might have been.
that's-
Yeah, I don't
it's not
remember.
a
But there was a
stretch to
couple.
say.
Yeah,
There was
I
a.
mean-
That's true.
That's fair.
RJ crushes after every interview he does.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who it's
Not
on.
really RJ. I know you're listening. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Joking. So we talked recently. We had Hudson Short on the show, and we talked about doing like a turds corner or something. And I'm working on that. And whatever we come up with, that's going to be presented by ETS Fuels in the future. So we'll do something with Hudson Short soon. It'll probably be a once a month thing. But speaking of ETS Fuels, the ETS Racing Fuels was forged from the heat of competition nearly 30 years ago, developing purpose-engineered fuel for high-profile teams in highly competitive series. We have been the power behind many podium wins ever since. I cannot speak tonight. Teams using ETS Racing Fuels have won more than 50 nationals and world champion titles, and we continue to forge new alliances and partnerships across motorsports. ETSRacingFuels.com to find your local distributor, and teams like Factory KTM, Rockstar Husqvarna, Factory Triumph, AEO, KTM Rocky Mountain, ATV, MC KTM, HBI Kawasaki, Mad Parts Kawasaki, and many more. All trust ETS because it is the best fuel you can put in your machine. ETS Racing Fuels. Check them out. Support the show. That stuff means a lot to us. Again, MotoXpodShow@gmail.com if you want to contribute to any of these segments. Like the X-Brand Forum check-in that we're about to get into. X-Brand is your choice for clear vision and a leader in motocross and off-road goggles. X-Brand is used by many of the top GNCC riders, including the 2023 XC1 champion Craig DeLong, the 2024 XC2 champion Grant Davis, 2023 National Hare and Hound champion Dalton Shurry, as well as guys like Grant Baylor, Lyndon Snodgrass, Kyle Chisholm, Freddie Norrin, Henry Miller, Richard Taylor, Jerry Robin, and many more. Visit EKSbrand.com or go to your local dealership and ask for X-Brand, distributed through WPS. Tonight, the X-Brand Forum check-in is titled, Is America Back? It was posted by Talon H112. And he says, first of all, I want to thank Tomac, Webb, and Plessinger for making this year's Motocross Nations a success for Team USA. After that showing, I found myself asking if the motocross gap between the USA and Europeans is closing. We sort of touched on that a little bit ago. I will not say the riders we sent aren't great riders, but this team isn't sent if our top guys don't get hurt. Have the Europeans lost their advantage? Couple responses. The guys did great. Let's enjoy it and leave it at that. Well, it's clear that the fastest rider on the planet rides in the U.S. right now. You never left. I'm going to read a couple of these. It seems as before Tomac set the standard on speed and no one was close a few years back. I think Jett and Sexton raised it and brought it to everyone else. So anyway, has the U.S. closed the gap? Again, I don't think you can actually answer that with a lot of knowledge with one event at Motocross of Nations. We would have to have multiple events in Europe and the States before you could really say that. But I would say overall, I still think the GP riders are probably better outdoors on an average.
Yeah.
Scotty?
I mean, that's all they do, so that makes sense to say that. But the way they're looking at the actual the forum topic, is USA closed the gap. The gap was created by the USA back, 10 to 30 years ago. We pretty much dominated that event always.
Yeah,
I mean, there was
sure.
a couple of year spans where we had, maybe some gaps, but for the most part, it was always USA versus the rest of the world. And so now it's kind of been, we've gotten a couple of wins, got a couple of podiums in the last decade or so, but it hasn't been so much of a domination by us. But I would say that the gap needed to be closed by the Europeans, and they did. And so now we just have, I don't think there's a gap. I think it's just good donations that you go into it. And we didn't really, we had 5 teams that really could win. And in the last round, there was 2 or 3 of them, 4 of them that really had a shot at it.
Yeah.
In the last race. So I don't think that USA had to close a gap. I think the gap was closed to them.
I mean, we definitely were better, like you were saying, in the beginning, but they did get to where they were better because we put so much more emphasis on Supercross. So, I mean, that's what everybody's based on. Like the whole off season, they're doing Supercross prep. They're not riding outdoors like that. They'll ride it a couple weeks around their break or whatever, but that's it. And then you can't really judge it off that track either because, I mean, it formed like an American track. Honestly, they said they'd never seen Matterley form like that. So you're seeing USA riders ride on something they're more comfortable on.
Right.
So I think you can't really base it off that race.
No, not any
like
one race.
Like you were saying, but I think the GP guys are still quicker outdoors, but like I said, we put so much more emphasis on Supercross, like they should be.
Yeah, and I say on average, but because like ML made a good point that Hunter and Jet are still sort of
right.
European GP.
I don't know. Jet rode EMX like what, a couple rounds.
He spent a lot of years over in Europe.
I mean, I get
racing.
that,
but I think my point is, if you took the top 10 American riders, let's just say 450 class, and the top 10 GP riders, and you made them ride 3 tracks in Europe or on the GP circuit and 3 tracks in the American circuit, I feel like the European riders, the MXGP riders would average better finishes by the end.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of them. Like Jet might win the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Our 5th best rider might not equal
though.
their 5th best rider. I'd have to actually sit and look at the who's
Yeah,
who, but
as a whole, they would probably do better.
As a whole,
the Americans would probably win because Jet's just on another level at this point.
Well, put a whoop section in, and then what are we talking
we're
about?
not talking about Supercross. I'm just talking about
I know,
moto,
but
so.
I mean, but they like the fact that we can even have this conversation that the U.S. guys are competing with something that, we're dual disciplined over here and they're single discipline. The fact that we can even compete with a single discipline. Imagine like if you took a league of people that only played baseball and you took a league of people that played baseball and football. And then like the people that played baseball and football competed with the best baseball people. Like that's
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like that's pretty impressive that we can even have this conversation.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's saying that it's not impressive or it is impressive. It's just a talking point, I guess.
Yeah, it just.
But and then I like seeing some of those guys getting ready to come over here. Like Lucas Coolant was clearly
flying
better that weekend than Kai was, but he rode over his head, I guess, and he made the mistake and he gets hurt, breaks his collarbone. But
is that what ended up happening?
Yeah, but
Kai made a lot of mistakes too.
Yeah,
true. But like him coming to the U.S.
everybody
probably
made mistakes
next year.
So.
Yeah,
that could be interesting to see how good he can get. These guys are good, man. It's a good topic though. It's just
I'm excited for the future for sure.
Yeah, like there's moments where I kind of go, oh man, all of our best favorite superstars, most of them are about to be done in another year or two, and really, what's the future? But
there's plenty of guys coming up. It's going to stay interesting.
Yeah.
It may get kind of boring with the 450 with Jet.
I think we might know who's going to win most of the races, unfortunately. But overall, I think this future of our sport is good. It's exciting. So there's a lot to talk about. Scotty, we're going to skip Barnett clutches right now. We're going to jump into our next guest of the night. He's going to be brought to you by Guts Racing. Andy Gregg and the Guts Racing crew continue to provide the best seats and foam available. If you want the same seats used by Rockstar Husky, Hep Suzuki, and many more, then you need Guts Racing. They have numerous color possibilities, staple or Velcro installation options, wing seats, and the best foam in the business with the Phantom Ultralight Seat Foam. And don't forget they have complete seats for Talari and Super 73 and covers for the Suron and Segway, and they strive to ship orders within 36 hours. So visit gutsracing.com. Let them know the MotoXpod Show sent you. Tonight, the MotoXpod Show brings you 2-time gold medalist Matt Buyten. What's up, Matty?
Hey, what's going on?
Not a lot, man. We're just sitting here talking a little bit about Motocross of Nations and just talking some dirt bikes, man.
All right. Happy to join.
Dude, glad to have you. You sound awesome. I haven't actually heard your voice in too long. Dude, like most everybody knows your story. Do you want to just get it? Let's get into your history first before we get into currently what's going on. I want to get a little bit of your background. When did you start riding dirt bikes? How did you get into dirt bikes? Was this something your dad was into, just your buddies? How'd you start riding?
Yeah, I started in 91. Just bought some, cheap little $500 bikes. We got a 78 YZ80 and a couple other little bikes. And we were just riding in the Nevada desert. My dad just intended for us just to ride around northern Nevada, just on trails and just have fun. He had no intentions for us to race motocross, but of course we saw Supercross, as, Jeff Stanton and John Michelle Bell going at it, the boys, Bradshaw, and I was instantly hooked, and I tried a few team sports, but I don't think it was for me, and I latched right on to motocross, and, I loved catching air on my bicycle, and, we couldn't really afford motocross, and so, I dug a lot of we pulled a lot of sagebrush out in the northern Nevada desert and piled them up and threw a bunch of dirt on it and made jumps. So that's how I kind of got my start with the neighborhood kids, the older kids, beating us up, and if we didn't do the jump. So,
That's funny.
but yeah, and then my dad ended up getting us some 89 CR80s out from Big Valley Honda in Reno, Nevada. And we got a race in 92 a year later, and it was pretty fun. We just got a race locally. My dad was a single dad, so we couldn't afford much, and we just kind of rode locally and had some fun with it and just grew up over the years. I was 11, 12 years old at that point, and, freestyle motocross came around in 97. Of course, we all watched the Krusty videos and the Moto Triple X videos, and then, I was doing bigger tricks on the BMX bikes and started kind of doing them on the dirt bikes. I had a 99 YZ125 I was doing the tricks on, and ended up getting a 2000 CR250 and getting some tricks going, and got on Mark Barnett's tour in 2002, and went all summer long with him, and they had a bunch of step-up contests all summer long. And then they had a Reno X Games qualifier in October of 2002.
Okay.
And so if you got top 20, you could ride the night show at the X Games qualifier, and I made that. And then if you got top 10, you were in step up in big air, and I got 11th. So I was halfway geared down, had a beer choked halfway down. I was getting ready to go party in Reno with the boys, and next thing I know, they're like, "Hey, Deegan backed out the step up. Can you ride?" And I'm like, I had a half a beer. They're like, "Can you ride?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!" So I went and won that qualifier. Miles Richmond and I were going back and forth at it, and I ended up winning that one. So if you won a qualifier, that automatically put you in X Games. And then, I ended up winning that next summer X Games against Tommy Clowers. And then, the rest is history. Just kind of kept with it and had some fun with it, and bounced around doing freestyle motocross and tried to keep my nose in the step up, and had some good rivalries with a couple kind of some big name guys. So
Yeah, good stuff, man. We'll go ahead, Chase.
Man, I was going through your Instagram earlier, and I saw a picture of you doing a Superman seat grab on a 50, and you're fucking insane, for one. And two, I remember watching all those videos back when I was a kid, and so one of the most memorable things from that 50 era. Just tell us about it.
Yeah, the 50 nuts area with Lawrence Lewis, that stuff was fun. That stems back from being able to do a Superman seat grab on a BMX bike, and I was like, surely you could do one on a 50. Stock suspension, stock bars. All we did was we'd pull them off the 50. We'd put them on the ground flat, and then jump on the corners just to make them straight, so they didn't kink in and bend your wrist.
Yeah.
That's all we would do to them. And so I don't know what was wrong with me at the time. Obviously, I didn't have much feeling in my ankles, and it makes me cringe to even think about trying to jump a stock 50 nowadays. But I was like, dude, you could grab the rear fender and do a seat grab. So I'm pretty sure I was the first one to do that back in the day. And what was that? Probably 2000, 2001. On a stock XR50.
Yeah,
It's
nuts,
nuts.
man. Any of that stuff's nuts to me, dude. But Scotty?
Yeah, that era of freestyle was so special because it was so big, and the sport got huge, and I know that it was cool to see the guys that got another chance that maybe weren't the fastest guy in Supercross and motocross got a chance in that era. But if they had told you in the late 90s that in the early 2000s you were going to battle McGrath and Carmichael for a step-up championship, you never would have thought it would have gotten to that point. Just take us through that journey of how the big air thing kind of developed. You went from drinking half a beer and qualifying, and then being the step-up guy. So it had to have been a cool experience.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was like, holy cow, I'm in X Games. I was just tripping. But I would just having so much fun just riding my bike and sending it. Like, and the weekend before, I jumped at Evil Knievel Days in Butte, Montana. A brand new ramp to ramp, never been jumped. Steve Miller from SDS bought this thing out and said, "I think it's good. No airbag. I just sent it on it, with Keith Sayers and Sean Nilsson." And I hit that thing first, and dude, it was just like I had my bike confidence, And then I drove down from Montana and did a couple things with Cliff Campbell. He kind of did some stuff to my bike, and it was Mike Mason's practice arena cross bike I had just bought off of him, and that was my step up bike that I won my first gold on. And
Nice.
I was like, oh crap, like everybody's here, like the whole militia and Pastrana and Metzger, and I'm like, oh my god, I was intimidated by them all. And then next thing I know, I won the thing, and Tommy Clowers is the man,
Yeah.
So I'm like, I was just riding my ass off. I mean, I almost did it on accident, really, but yeah. And then the next year, all of a sudden they say like McGrath's going to come in, and I had like shoulder dislocating problems, and I was like, oh no, like I was like coming into the summer, I started having all my shoulder coming out, and I was like, no. And nobody wants to be the one hit wonder, and so I did everything I could not to let that happen, but my MC got me. But I was like looking at his bike, I'm like, oh cool, his bike is so rad. Oh, Jeremy McGrath. Oh shit, I got a ride.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh crap, my shoulder. And then like I was like, oh cool, Jeremy McGrath. Oh crap, I got a ride. It just kept going over and over. But yeah, I ended up dislocating my shoulder once in practice there, and then twice in the contest. So I slept really good that night with a lot of ibuprofen and an ice pack. So.
Well, at least
then you go forward into Carmichael being into it, and stuff started getting pretty rowdy when we started modifying our bikes and whatnot. And then I brought the whole shot device in the step up, and that helped me win in 2010 and 11. And then Renner and I, we got a strong rivalry going, so it was good times. It was pretty wild. I don't miss landing like that 1/16 though.
Nope.
So speaking of the modifications and stuff, what all were y'all doing to those bikes? I mean, I'm sure at the beginning it was pretty much stock bikes, but what kind of gearing were y'all running, and like what else were y'all doing besides like the whole shot devices and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, in the very beginning, it was just everyone was just using their freestyle bikes. It was just run what you brung, cut fenders and just send it on it, and hopefully one of your stickers didn't fall off. But then, it started getting serious. Cliff Campbell and I were the first ones to kind of bring a modified bike to it. We ported the head and did some stuff to it and did some gearing. And so I was running in second gear. And then, so that's kind of how I was able to make it happen. And then, 4-strokes came along, and then, Mitch Payton built me a beautiful, a pro circuit motor. And then I ended up pulling out third, fourth, and fifth gear, shaved like 5 pounds because I was just running second gear. So, and then a full tie kit on the bike that shaved another 5 pounds, and then my little skinny ass on there with all that horsepower. That thing was going sky high. So I was staring at the Jumbotron in the Staples Center a few times.
Yeah, literally a rocket ship taking off straight up. Matt, it's kind of interesting. I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and I'm thinking about how like the freestyle scene kind of went from a bunch of quote unquote people were thinking, oh, these guys are untalented misfits, hoodlums, to how talented, realizing how much talent it takes, and doing shows in arenas and stadiums. And it's pretty crazy the transition, how quickly freestyle motocross went from like disrespected to respected.
Yeah, I think the backflip really kind of brought that out. Then you bring out all the wild backflip tricks and the double backflips and whatnot. Really, I think if you ride in general, then you kind of see it. You see how gnarly just the idea to flip a dirt bike really is, how
Yeah.
heavy they are. It's just like, I ain't doing that. Like, you put it on your stand, you're like, I ain't flipping this thing, no way.
Sure.
And
Well,
I mean,
yeah, even just jumping a freestyle ramp there, like, you know, if you got to a motocross track, we were talking about this like maybe last week or the week before, like what it takes to jump a big obstacle, and you can jump out, you can jump out a few times. Freestyle ramp, you got to go, man.
yeah, there's only 100% commitment.
Yeah.
And you know, that's like flipping, you know, you don't want to half-ass that one, man. You're gonna have some serious problems.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I've done all of us have jumped freestyle ramps here, I think, but they've been pretty short.
I haven't
Yeah.
had a chance
Okay,
to.
I've done it
Chase,
short.
Chase, you went out to
Madden. Yeah, I'm going out there Wednesday to shoot
Yeah.
some stuff of Corey LeCrae, I think. It's one of McNeil's buddies.
Okay, and then I've jumped one at Michael Gage's house that was like only 40 foot, and so yeah, the things you guys are doing is just next level. But before we move on to current times, I want to know like what the first trick you learned was, and what was the most difficult one that took you just a lot of it took you a while to grasp it.
Yeah, probably, you know, just basic hill clickers and no footed cans were like the first tricks, you know.
Okay.
Those are good starter warm up tricks, and then, man, I could just not get a kiss of death, and I still probably didn't get one very good, but you know, and a lazy boy. I'm like, Jake Wyndham was yelling at me when trying to teach me in the old IFMA days. I don't know if you guys remember Jake the Jailer, but
Yeah.
he was like, how can you not do that? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, you can do all these other tricks, but you cannot do those. So it was pretty funny. But
Was it just a mental? Was it a mental thing, or was it like just the physically you couldn't get your body in that position?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's just a lack of talent in that department, apparently. Yeah, it was like crazy. Like, you know, I got all the bar tricks down right away, you know, and all the seat grab tricks. But yeah, he's like, when you do a kiss of death, you just gotta keep your finger on it, and it'll bend your finger back to your wrist, and then just flop it back down. I'm like, I'm gonna break or dislocate a finger. I don't think so, Jake. And then like a lazy boy, I swear I was doing it, and they're like, him and Dustin Miller were like, no, you're not doing it. I'm like, I'm doing it. So then I just gave up. So yeah, it's kind of funny.
That is
smaller
funny.
tricks, but
Yeah.
probably my favorite trick was doing stripper backflips. That one was probably the most badass one, is to be all stretched out and arced out with the bike up behind you. And there's probably only 10, 15 people in the world that still have ever done that one. So that was probably my favorite one. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Matt, it was crazy to see, like it started off, like you said, with little cans, and it was kind of this little sideshow thing, and then y'all started doing backflips, and it got really intense. And then, you know, I'd say that, you know, obviously the height of freestyle was probably from, you know, 2002 to 2010, 11, around there. I'd say was it advanced a lot. And, you know, the double backflip happened with Travis and then all that stuff. Was there, at one point, did you see that maybe like they were going to eventually run out of stuff to do? Because it does seem like the freestyle sport has kind of changed into a more of a free ride thing again. And it's like, at what point did you ever see that, like, hey, y'all are going to eventually run out of stuff to do?
Yeah, I mean, you never say never. You know, we never thought we could flip them.
Yeah.
It was just I just kind of always kept an open mind. I never really put a gauge on it, and you know, because you never know what creative writer could come up with something, you know. So that's what was pretty cool about this sport. So I mean, just even as something simple as the Captain Morgan, you know, like, and that thing was just like the biggest crowd pleaser, and you're like, are you serious? And like, you know, I mean, it's, you know, then, you know, Sheeny goes and does the triple flip, you know. It's just, never say never, you know. It's just, you never know how much further things can evolve, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, in 2012, it did flatten out pretty good, you know, I think.
Yeah. So,
and now it's been kind of like a demo deal, you know, and I just kind of like had the attitude to live to ride another show was always my attitude, instead of trying to be the hero at the show and take yourself out, you know?
Yeah. You gotta be a little smarter. Sure.
So after the first flip got done to dirt, how long was it before you started trying it and before you actually landed one?
I was I kind of gauged myself about the 13th to 15th guy to ever flip a dirt bike.
Okay.
I did it just at home, and it was pretty gnarly. Like, I don't know if most people will do this, but I drove from Carson City, Nevada, up to Bend, Oregon, to Justin Homan's place, an 8-hour drive. And I did one into the pit on 45 feet, and then it started snowing, like dumping snow. So I drove back down to Nevada and went back up a month later, and I did one into the pit. I under-rotated it, like just where I just had my chin up and just kind of nosed in. And then I got the second one around, and it just started dumping snow again. And I'm like, son of a... The IFMAs were about to start. So I drove back down to Nevada, down to Dustin Miller's place. And I literally, like, it was right out of, like, a V left-handed corner was his 45-foot ramp to dirt. And, man, I hucked that thing. Like, most guys do, like, 50 flips into the pit. But this is how I did my first one.
Wow.
And I just hucked that thing, and I did it, like, perfectly. And I was like, holy shit. And then I just started firing a bunch of them off. So I did it, you know, back when the 45-foot flip was around, you know. And then I heard that Pastrana and Deegan were doing 75, and it's when not many people were doing, like, even, like, no one really saw it quite yet. So I pulled our 75-foot ramp back. Miller had just got a foam pit, and because Miller didn't have one, and I had all my shoulder dislocating problems. So then in about 05, 06, I heard that those guys were doing it, and I pulled my our ramp back to 75 feet, and I measured 75 feet in the middle of the pit, and you turn your gas off going in the pit. So, I mean, how fun is that? You're like, I'm about to flip, but let me turn my gas off. This makes sense. That's how we did it. Nope. And, man, I just yanked that thing around and got it right around perfectly, but then I had to dip out and get a bunch of shoulder surgeries, and everybody else caught up.
That's wild.
Yeah, I can't rationally wrap my brain around any of that. I just can't do it. I'm out. None of that's for me. Matt Buyten's brought to you tonight by Guts Racing. Well, Matt, let's get into current conditions, man. June 23rd. You've been racing in East Texas a lot and doing some racing. You've been doing some freestyle shows. We've seen your face around East Texas a bunch. Go to Thunder Valley for the regional, and, man, just I'd have to imagine worst day of your life, right? It's just we always say when we do the sport, like, people, why do you do that? So I'm like, well, every time we throw a leg over, we know something can happen, and sometimes it does, dude. And it unfortunately it happened to you that day, and you never really expect it to. I don't know, man. Just kind of take us through. I was with you that first day for a little bit after it happened, and just the mental side, just what you were going through, family. Just awful experience, but, man, kind of like take us through the process that you've been going through over the last few months.
Yeah, I got the unfortunate. It happened to me. You know, there's a worst case scenario, but definitely this one's unfortunate. Well, what happened is my whole shot device stuck, and come to find out, I mean, the whole shot device works perfectly, but it's my fault. I had an older fork guard on there, and you know, it just I think with how low I set my whole shot device, the fork guard gave way, and it locked the whole shot device on me. So I'm not going to say the company's name because I'm not trying to hinder them. So I kind of feel like that's the real theory of what happened. So, but yeah. So point being to everybody out there listening, keep your fork guards fresh.
Yeah,
I had a 2-year-old fork guard on there, and I just kept working, and it must have got soft and gave way on me. And then it wedged my whole shot device. So change your fork guards. But anyways, so yeah, I was just going up the uphill at Thunder Valley right before you get to the top after the 2 doubles, and right when you kind of come over the little crest part where you need your front suspension, I was on the back of the bike, and I didn't notice the front suspension was locked, and right when I needed the front suspension, it was locked down, and just spit the bars out of my hands, and I went flying and landed on my coconut and fractured my spine. I fractured my T4 to my T9 and grenaded my T6 into my spinal cord. So yeah, it's been tough, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's been I'm so busy. I'm so active. I was working 2 jobs at the time. I was also training for Loretta's. I was busting out freestyle shows on the weekends, and I wanted to squeeze in Loretta's. I just love racing. It's just the passion of where I started riding at. And yeah, man, it's a gut wrencher for sure. I struggle every day. Like I fell on the floor today, and I had to wait for my wife to come back in and help pick me up. It's like just flipping a dirt bike now. I can't even pick myself up off the floor. It's tough. You know what I mean? It's every day is a battle. Trying to keep up with my 2.5-year-old, and when she goes to work, and try to keep up with him, and it's tough. But I don't want to cry for me too much. That's just kind of the real side of it. I'm not gonna lie and say it ain't tough. I think I'd rather learn how to flip a dirt bike instead of going through all this. I'd rather learn how to do all that all over again, versus this. But we knew the risk of riding dirt bikes, so I also got to kind of buck up to it. Mechanical things happen, so it was made my fault for having an older foot guard on there. So that's on me, I guess. So
well,
it is what it is.
I was thinking about your situation today and other riders in our sport who have been injured, and it could be like a blessing and a curse to be a racer, I would think. Obviously I'm not in your position, but to have your type of injury, because as a racer, maybe you're like, I want to compete. I want to go. It's very difficult to not have that anymore. But then at the other end, you're like, well, I've been injured so many times before that at least I'm used to being injured. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, I think you could take some positives away. If just a normal person had your injury, a non-racer, it might feel even more drastic. Maybe. I don't know if that makes sense, because if they've never had any kind of injury, but I don't know. Does that make any sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, there's a few ways you can look at that. Yeah, I've never flipped a dirt bike again, so I know that I'm safe from that. And, it's just, I kind of told my dad and my wife I'm actually a little relieved, not to really break a bone again riding a dirt bike. So, there's a few ways you can look at that, So.
Yeah, none of them are positive, obviously, but I guess, I don't know. It just was something I was thinking about that just, in my mind, it sort of made sense where you could maybe find, not a positive, but it might not be as difficult to accept, I guess, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You can tell me if I'm completely wrong. Obviously, I'm not in your shoes, so.
Yeah, it's difficult, man. I'm not liking it at all.
Sure, well, of course not.
I'm straight up, man. I'm not liking this at all. I don't think anybody would.
No. I'm
too active. I just see so much stuff around the house. I want to help with the baby. It's just like, dude, it's just like, it's frustrating, man. I just look at my moto van and cringe. Like I probably should sell it, but I'm not good at parting ways with my stuff. I got the bike sold that I crashed on to a buddy up in Michigan. I got to start parting ways with some stuff, and getting less stuff to take care of, so it's less that my wife has to, or a friend's got to come and help me with, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know. It's tough, man. I don't like it.
Yeah, I know, man. When Darside told us about it, because I've done a couple of the local Moto Masters races with you, and I hadn't met you or anything, but seen you around, and I was like, oh, that's Matt Buyten just passed me. That was cool, and like just see you around, and then just all of a sudden like that, it's gone. It's such a hard thing for anybody to comprehend, but you have your son and your wife and your family around you to support you, and I'm sure seeing your son grow up is the motivation you need to to keep things going. Would with this injury happening with you and your wife and your son wanted to do dirt bikes, would you still like say encourage him to do it, or because of this has that changed like your outlook with maybe your son wanting to get into the sport?
Yeah, I love doing the Moto Masters. Those were awesome, man. I'm definitely gonna miss that vibe. It was great. And then, secondly, I'm not gonna hold him back. If he wants to ride, let's ride, boy. So
Yeah.
I know a few tricks up my sleeve, and I got some friends that'll help me. My parents didn't hold me back, so I'll talk to him. Let him make his own decisions. I'm not going to hold him back. My parents didn't hold me back, so if he wants to ride, let's go.
Yeah. That's something you can do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great community. Like the people you meet and everything. It's a lot more to it than just riding. It's like, I've been so blessed through the moto community. Everyone's taken such great care of me, and the support's been so amazing. So thanks again to everyone. It's just the moto family, just all around is great. I'm so pumped to be a part of it, and I'll always be a part of it. And I'd love to bring my son into it and show him what a good community is. It gives you discipline. Like to train and take care of your bikes, and once you get out on the road, you learn how to survive. There's a lot to it, that comes with it, that it's not just riding. So yeah, I would love to turn him into it, and I'd love to. It'd stoke me out, give me a big second wind if he wanted to be a part of it. But we also know the ass kicking you take. That's what I always said. You don't get to the top without one serious ass whooping. So
For sure. 100%.
We'll have some conversations when the time comes.
Right.
So, but he might have a Stasic hooked him up with a bike, so thanks to them. And then he might have a PW50 already in the garage, but so we're just letting time tell, see where it goes. So.
Awesome.
I hear you.
Yeah, sometimes the sport feels pretty big, and then something like this happens, and it makes you realize how much closer and interlocked it is than some other sports. And I've always really liked that about the moto community. I talked to you pretty shortly after your injury, and it was pretty dark there for a minute. I'm just glad to hear that you're doing better and things are looking good.
Yeah, you guys coming to the hospital with me, you heard what I was saying. So.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that, or you want to just move past that?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't really care.
Yeah, so Michael Gage and I were the first family friends that made it there before some of your closer friends got there. And yeah, man, like the first thing I remember you were talking to the surgeon's assistant. I don't remember what her title was. She came in and you kind of asked like, hey, there's a chance right after surgery. And she didn't pull any punches. She's basically, no, your spinal cord is severed. That's it. And you're like, dude, I can't do this. I can't do this to my wife. I can't do this to my son. I don't want to be here, which would be fully expected. I think anybody would have those thoughts.
It was a panic attack.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, we got your wife on the phone and you're telling her that, and I can only imagine what's going through her head. But as time went on that evening, you're like, yeah, I got to be here for my kid, man. And like, you're trying to process, I'm watching you process this in real time. And it's gnarly, dude. Michael Gage and I talked on the way home. Like, that's eye-opening, bro. I've never been there when something like that's happened, and then certainly hadn't gone to the hospital and dealt with all that. And I just, dude, yeah, to see you at what absolutely was your darkest spot, and then a few weeks later to see moments of you smiling and laughing with friends, like it's pretty incredible roller coaster. But what you went through is just disgustingly hard to deal with, obviously.
Yeah, I've been through a lot. I'm a pretty rugged dude, probably compared to most.
Yeah,
and that was that was heavy for sure. It still is to today, and it's I just think of everything that I do, at home, and the jobs that I had, and it's just like, oh my God, like just your life is flashing before you there, and just picturing, how much I help our family out, and, now I can't, and it's just like, oh my God, like, it was just like I was panicking, and, I've been seeing some younger kids, getting paralyzed. And, I just feel for those guys the most, like I'm 44, I've lived a full freestyle motocross career and traveled the world. And, I really feel for some of the younger kids, was it Zarp and Adler. Yeah. So I've actually kind of been messaging those guys and kind of reaching out to the young bucks and already trying to start to give back, to keep their heads up and stuff, So it's cool to see them getting good support too. And yeah, I mean, that was a rough, it's been a rough go,
Yeah.
It's I'm 3.5 months in. It's still a struggle, They say it takes like a year to kind of finally start getting fully settled into it. So got a long ways to go here, So like I said, I was on the floor this evening already.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I can't really imagine realistically what that's like. I can kind of think about it in my head what I would think it would be like. Do you know Gail Hoyt? Have you talked to Gail Hoyt?
No.
Okay, he's a Texas rider. I need to get you in touch with him. I was at I think it was a Moto Masters like 8 years ago, and he actually got paralyzed in the race I was in, but I didn't know him very well. I saw him go down. I turned around, came back, and then we connected later. And like he's traveling the country now in a motorhome, and fully wheelchair bound, and just like living. Like seems to be doing really, really well after a number of years. I need to get you in contact with him. But I wanted to ask you though, like you just said, 3.5 months. I've seen you like in Instagram. You're out at the golf course. I know you're going through PT and all these different recovery things. What's the most difficult part of your day, and what have been some of the most rewarding, if there have been any?
Well, I'm still having rib issues and nerve issues, so I'm trying to get into a neuro doctor right now. Like I can't even I don't know what's going on, man. I'm still having my ribs are killing me still, and like it's like I'm getting like shocked, like around my ribs on my nipple line, like because I shattered 3 ribs.
Yep.
Going under my armpit and where they meet my spine on each side. So I don't know if they're still like just in crumbles or what, but man, like it literally feels like I'm getting shocked. Like I got to flex and like try to get it to stop. It's miserable. It's like gotten worse. So I'm trying to track down a neuro doctor right now. So because like I can't even like work out or anything. So I've lost like everything that I worked at Craig, like the little bit of muscle I built up back at Craig. Like it's just I'm having some issues right now with it right now. So. Because I've been wanting to work out and kind of try to get myself going because I know it brings confidence,
Sure.
So I've been just laying low trying to get my ribs to heal, but that doesn't really seem to be working. I'm going to maybe try and get my chiropractor tomorrow because he'll do some x-rays for me for pretty cheap and see if we can see something going on to try and start getting some answers,
Yeah, I had a buddy that got paralyzed in high school. And he had more of an issue with the nerve stuff. So
Yeah,
I'm definitely
for years. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. There's somebody you can reach out to and get in with a good nerve doctor.
Yeah, it's miserable.
Yeah.
So, how can people help? If I'm sure Road to Recovery still got their stuff going on, or is that the best way for if somebody who wants to help?
Yeah, for sure. Road to Recovery is the best outlet there.
Talk about, before we let you go, there's a lot of people in your corner, including your wife, Crystal, and your son, Jet, but family, friends that have been helping out, helping you get your house handicap accessible, helping you get back home, all that stuff. Like, you want to mention a few people that have been really in your corner lately?
Yeah, I mean, my wife, man, it's pretty crazy how much our lives have changed and how much she has taken on. She's probably the number one, and she's been doing amazing. And then, yeah, just my family and everything, and tons of friends. I'm so thankful. Like I thought I was just some wild man on a dirt bike to piss some people off, but just people all around the country have been super supportive. And then locally, my buddy Kevin and Matt, and Caleb, they remodeled my shower while I was away in the Denver there, and in the hospital and whatnot. And, they continue to, if I need something around the house to do stuff, they built me some ramps and whatnot. So, and all my neighbors, to land around, like, be surrounded by great neighbors, we had to tell them to stop bringing us food. Like, our fridge had so many leftovers in it. We were stuffed, like, our fridge looked like the next day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So, I'm speechless on how incredible everybody is. Everyone has really stepped up big time for us. Our family's super thankful, and I'm not going to let anyone down, and I got to keep plugging away on my side, and I got to be strong, and I want to be an inspiration to others down the road here.
Dude, I love that, Matt. I mean, I love hearing the positivity coming out of you. I know that you have your moments of negativity, and that's to be expected, but man, as long as you find some positivity, find some joy during the day, hopefully that's just going to continue to grow as you continue to heal. And I hope to God things do get better. And like you said earlier, it could have went another way. It could have went worse, and that would have been so much worse for your family, man, that your son still got you around and you get to hold him every day, and you can't take that for granted.
Oh, for sure. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see little Jet Buyten out there ripping around, and and I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm definitely thankful to still be here to be chatting with you guys, and thanks for having me on the show. I'm thankful for you guys. Thanks.
Of course, Matt. Thanks so much for coming on and telling us your story, man, and we'll stay in touch, and I hope that we'll see you around soon.
Yeah, we'll have to take a road trip and go
for sure.
Go get him at the house.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, do it.
All right, Matt. We'll talk to you real soon, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Be good, boys.
All right, you too. It's Matt Buyten tonight, brought to you by Guts Racing. Appreciate him coming on, man. It's scary, dude. You think about those things and what can happen, and
it can happen.
Yeah, we always say that, but we kind of like, but it's really not going to happen. But you don't know, man.
You try to put it in the back of your mind and not think about it, and I mean, sometimes it happens.
Yeah, I know, and you can say, like, oh well, I ride safe, or I ride cautious. I don't ride over my head. But there was a guy from around here that was a local guy, and I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but I seen him ride at the tracks. He was super smooth. Wasn't like a pro or anything. But super solid rider. Knew what he was doing. Went over jump weird one day, and it killed him at Village Creek. And it can just happen. Like you can be smart, calculated. I mean, Matt's obviously knows what he's doing.
I mean, it wasn't even anything he did. It was a bike problem.
Yeah,
I mean, it was something due to lack of maintenance or however you put it. But I mean, it can happen. It can always happen, man.
To see him in good spirits and to fight through it, it's cool.
Let's bust through some of these segments. We went a little long with Matt, but I think it was worth it. Yamaha Motor USA top 5 or highs and lows. We touched on them a little bit. I'm just going to run through mine. My highs for the week were the MXDN as a race, USA on the podium, Geyser, Australia, and Conrad Muse. My lows were Max Anstie getting hurt, Lucas Coolant getting hurt, and the fact that I didn't get to ride this weekend. Those are mine. Scotty, you got a few?
My highs were we got to go to the state fair, and it was cool. I've never been there before, and everything is bigger in Texas, and it was huge, and we had a good time. And even though it was a little bit hot, we still enjoyed everything. And I guess the lows were I didn't get to ride either. So the high, and the other high was that there was donations. That was cool. And the low part of that is that was the last one until January. So I mean, I guess there's WSX, but
WSX, and we got some Australian racing. But Chase,
USA getting on the podium, and then one of our buddies sold a bike to McNeil's buddy, and he's wanting me to shoot some freestyle stuff. So that's definitely a high this week. And then not going to Ponca. I said I was going to go and try to shoot pictures there, and I didn't make it out this year, but there's always next year.
Fair enough. Want to say shout out to our American ISDE teams. They're all in Spain this week. They just got there, I think, today or the next couple of days. So good luck to our teams doing that. I was trying to get Rachel Archer on and Johnny Gerard on this week because, Rachel won the XC championship, and Johnny, I think he might have already locked it up. If not, he's going to lock it up. He's got a pretty big points gap. But those guys they're in Spain, so no go for them. But good luck to them. We want to see Team USA be successful there. Barnett clutches, clutch performance of the week with 75 years of experience behind them. Barnett Dirt Digger clutch kits feature friction materials exclusive to Barnett for maximum performance and durability. You can get 10% off with promo code VitalMX, all in caps, at barnettclutches.com and feel the Barnett difference. I already mentioned mine, Conrad Muse and Denmark's Mikkel Harup. I think those guys were, for me, the guys that I try to pick somebody that's sort of off the beaten path. There's a lot of clutch performances, in my opinion. Either one of you got a couple?
Yeah, Webster, I think, because you kind of expected Jet and Hunter to do what they did, so that just put that much more pressure on Webster, and he delivered. Like, I guess he was at the Dog Pound in Florida for like a month on a 250 because he's been riding 450.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, he put in the work and it paid off. So
MotoXpod@gmail.com if you guys want to contribute to these segments. Send us some emails, man. Load them up. Scotty, any clutch performance?
I'm gonna go with Tomac. I think he just stepped.
Okay.
I think he just stepped up and he didn't. He got second overall in his class, and I would like to see him win that moto, but he really was he's the only reason we were on the podium. I know I've said that a couple times this show. He stepped up.
He did better than I anticipated with how much racing he missed this year. So
and Cooper too for going down the 250F.
That one,
he got nobody had a bad race. Nobody threw it away. So we got to drop a 17 and Cooper got in the top 10. And so, just the team in general, clutch.
MotoXpodshow@gmail.com. Again, we're not done yet, but we will probably do a show next Tuesday night. We'll be back to our normal night when Mathis goes back to his normal night. I don't even know if Mathis is doing a show next week, but we'll be back on Tuesday night. And since there's no race this weekend, I'm going to challenge you guys to send us some topics for the Race Tech Open discussion. We won't have a race to talk about. I don't even care if it's moto related. If there's something you want to talk about, that 20, 30-minute topic or maybe a couple topics, send them in, MotoXpodshow@gmail.com, and we'll do a fan Race Tech Open discussion. I think that would be cool, a listener Race Tech Open discussion. But we talked to Matt Buyten. You brought up him doing Superman seat grab on a pit bike, and he could have got parts for his pit bike at T-Bolt USA. If you are a pit bike enthusiast and love shredding around on a CRF 110, a KLX 110, or whatever you have, you need TBoltUSA.com bookmarked on your web browser. T-Bolt USA is a pit bike supply site that has everything you need for your pit bike, from BBR handlebars to D&M shocks and even full bikes from YCF and Pitster Pro bikes. T-Bolt has it. T-Bolt USA has it all. They even have stuff for the Japanese bikes that you cannot find parts for anywhere else. You'll find pit bikes, engines, and parts at TBoltUSA.com. All right, T-Bolt USA top 5 this week. We mentioned last week, Scotty, you sent me a link to a podcast, and I actually didn't get a chance to check it out yet.
They're not, to be honest with you, their content's really not even that. I don't really you think it's that great, but they do have a lot of ideas.
But I guess they do like a top 3 or a top 5, but they do like very specific. So last week we just said, let's do our top 5 hamburgers that aren't homemade, like wherever you would go. I think next week we're going to do top 5 horror villains or horror.
Okay, that's a good one.
And again, MotoXpodshow@gmail.com if you have a top 5. So we'll be very specific. It can be any topic. I don't care for the most part. We'll do a specific top 5. But this week's T-Bolt USA top 5 is 5 favorite hamburgers from, it could be a restaurant or fast food. Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Chase.
All right. 5th, I got Juicy's. It's a local kind of chain here in East Texas. Super good burgers.
Yep.
The Butcher Shop here in the
that one was in my.
Yeah,
it was in my. I don't know if I put it on there.
On the short list.
Honorable mentions. Yeah.
I should probably put it on there.
East Texas Burger Company over in Mineola. Another.
Is that the one on 80?
Yeah, like right there downtown.
I've had one, but it's been a long time.
The Big Bass Burger.
Yep, the Big Bass Burger and those fried pies, man. Storms in Hamilton. They've got 3 or 4 locations.
You didn't really do any chain so far.
No, I didn't have any fast food.
All right.
There's way better burgers than those. Whataburger is one of my favorite, and I didn't even think about putting it on there because you can get way better. Storms in Hamilton though. Every year we went to the deer lease. We'd eat breakfast burritos in the morning, lunch was Storms, dinner was Storms every day.
All right.
And the best one I've had is actually a Truck Stop Burger in Tumsuba, Mississippi. It's like right there, Mississippi, Alabama line.
Yeah.
Just like $11 for a meal. It's the best burger I've ever had.
Nice. Nick Taylor sent an email. He said, my top cheeseburger is a slam burger from Denny's. It has an egg, hash brown, and bacon.
All right,
is that the one that TJ?
Yeah, fuck.
That's the same one.
Dude, that burger got me heated today.
Well,
legitimately
TJ's like, I
heated.
like it because it has an egg. I'm like, well, you can get an egg on your burger in a lot of places.
Yeah, I like that. I like an egg on a burger too, but I wouldn't say Denny's.
That was my point. I like an egg on a burger,
to
but
be fair,
Denny's.
I've never got a hamburger at Denny's.
I have. They're not bad,
but yeah,
they're not top burger, period.
I wouldn't think so, especially if TJ's picking it.
Exactly.
It's hard to.
Nothing
agree.
Denny's has is at the top of any category.
You want to go, Scotty?
Yeah. I do have to. I have one fast food burger in mind, and I think I don't.
That's really, fine. I have a couple fast food places on mine.
I think it makes the cut and I don't even get it that much because it's kind of expensive what you get, but the Baconator at Wendy's. That's it.
Come on, man!
God, dude.
How long before TJ starts texting?
Dude,
I'm surprised he's not calling. I didn't say it wasn't good.
That's a good burger.
I will eat Wendy's, but it's not top 5.
There's a million better.
I put it in 5th.
All right, go ahead. Put it in your list.
And then I also have the butcher shop in Longview.
Okay.
I like it because you get to go like put all kinds of stuff on it afterwards.
Yeah.
Like you can add extra cheese, you can add chili when you get gravy for your French fries and all this. I think that's why I like it the most.
They've got like elk and bison too.
I also put Dairy Palace in Canton.
I used to love their burgers.
It's not as good.
It's not as good now, but it used to be like a burger and a Bluebell milkshake.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll still stop for those milkshakes.
And you can get like buffalo burgers, and they have all kinds of different like meats and stuff that you can get there.
World famous.
Yeah, world famous. It's pretty. Dairy Palace is good.
That's actually that's a topic. Well, let's do that for a topic soon. Like what makes something.
So we were at the.
It's a $40 option on the Sun.
We were at the fair, and I saw like someone was wearing a shirt that said like #1 dad or something like that. And I just want to go and be like, hey man, congratulations. Like,
do you got the trophy at home?
Where can I read that list?
Yeah.
Who got second?
Yeah. That's it. Okay. So I've got, the Baconator, the Butcher Shop, Dairy Palace. And then there was a place in, San Marcos that it was a bar I used to go to, and they had a guacamole queso burger.
Okay.
And it was on a jalapeno sourdough bun, guacamole, queso. Oh man, it was one of those burgers that it just kind of falls apart around you, but you just have to just keep going.
With a fork in the end.
It's like there's nothing else going on. Sure. You're just in the zone.
Okay, you're making me hungry.
Yeah, and then
Nothing's open.
And then it's hard to like say the best burger I've ever had, but we when I was in high school, we went to Chicago, and we were on the Magnificent Mile, which is like a big shopping area, and we weren't supposed to go, like, because the Magnificent Mile in Chicago has like an underneath street. Okay. Like it's basically like an underground street. Yeah. And we weren't supposed to go down there. We were supposed to stay on the top level. Well, we were in high school, so we kind of got crazy. We went down there, and there was a burger place, and it was called the Goat Burger, and it was just a little. Oh, your glasses are just, life is just in shambles over there.
I can't see.
But it was literally like underground, right? Like it's just a little hole in the wall place, and it kind of looked like an old sitcom. It was just, you walked in, there was a little circle bar, and they had a couple of like cheeseburgers. It was like $3, something like that. This is 10, 15 years ago. And I just remember it probably wasn't that great of a burger, but for just the experience, I just remember being like, that's one of the best burgers I've ever had.
I forgot one. Red Roosters in Denton. They've got a burger with 2 grilled cheeses for buns, and it's $3 double wells on Sunday. I've gone in there and ate 2 of those burgers and had to be carried out of there before. So it's on the list.
It's funny because like you guys, I'm not saying these are the best burgers I've ever had, because I have had some burgers at some one-off places that were like, or even like at a racetrack maybe. Mm-hmm. But I'm not remembering.
Like the ones that you commonly get.
I'm kind of going with the more common ones. So I'll start with Longview, Texas, Juicy's, which I think there's actually one in Tyler.
There's a couple in Tyler, yeah.
But started in Longview, I believe. The chain, it's kind of a East Coast, Florida, I think, thing in Louisiana, Checkers.
Checkers is
I really like their burgers, and then they have really good, not that this is part of the top 5, but they have kind of like a Cajun fry that comes with it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Checkers and Rallies is like the
same company. Yeah, I like those. In-N-Out's my number 3. A lot of memories with In-N-Out. It's one of my favorite fast food burgers, but then Smash Burger I don't consider fast food, I really like
fast casual. Or
they
whatever.
have they had like a barbecue burger or something that I really liked. I can't remember what it was called. And their fries add to it, but Smash Burger that went away in Longview, but I used to love going there. And then Five Guys as a chain is probably my favorite burger. Their barbecue burger, add bacon, or bacon burger, add barbecue sauce.
You got to take a loan out.
Throw a leg on. Yeah, I mean, it's like a $13 hamburger.
I can't get out of there for
Whataburger's that much.
It's getting there, but that's a meal.
Hey, Whataburger around
just
here.
A burger.
Whataburger around here is like $3 a meal cheaper. You can go to Marshall and it's like $13 for my $17 meal. The Tyler Whataburgers, Tyler, Longview, all that
cheaper?
No, they're more expensive.
Oh, more expensive.
The investment company that owns them has their prices jacked up, and it pissed me off when I realized.
Yeah,
but those are my top 5.
I went there last night after the Cowboys game because it was late and it was the only thing open, and I got a honey butter chicken biscuit, a small Dr. Pepper with like the meal, like the hash browns, and a single order biscuit and gravy, and it was $13.
Mm-hmm. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, a McDonald's meal is like $10 now.
Yeah,
it's not that much different anymore.
No.
Yeah.
So those are our list. Next week, again, top 5 horror villains. So it could be Freddy Krueger. It could be Hannibal Lecter. Whatever, man. Send them in. MotoXpodShow@gmail.com. And send us in your list to give us some ideas, some suggestions for top 5s. Evans Coolant emails. Evans waterless coolant protects your engine because it always stays liquid. Steam inside the engine creates hot spots and detonation, but with Evans, the metal is always liquid cooled. It's used by HRC Honda, Factory Beta USA, Ampro Factory Yamaha, and lots of other teams, regardless of their sponsorships. Evans is in the bikes on the podium. Evans Coolant emails. Let's see here what we got. We have a few. Garrett Rockley. Well, you know what? I don't have the. I'll use this as email. He sent in his top 5 from last week. My top 5 tips for bikes. Keep in mind, I pretty much only rode vintage stuff. I use mineral spirits for filter cleaning. Easy cleanup and does great on getting rid of oil. That's number 5. Number 4, quarter turn throttles on everything that I can get them on. That way I need a donated part. If I need a donated part, I can finish my races. Motion Pro cable line tool. Too many cables to keep clean and lubed. Number 2, bike stand that jacks the bike up to a working height. Much easier on my old carcass. And number 1, aftermarket clutch perch and lever. All bikes have the same unit. The leverage ratio on the clutch lever helps ease the old school heavy clutch feel. Dad demands them since his left hand doesn't work as well as it should. It takes a 1983 500 Husky from 3 fingers to pull it down to 1. It's magic. So that's Garrett's on that. Bear with me here. Switch it over. Phil Smeltzer said, hey, thanks for still doing a podcast past the whole season. I hope you do it throughout the whole break. There's 40 guys that line up at every race throughout the years that you could talk to about the season, talk about new bikes. That would be awesome if you did that. Phil, we're going to continue to do some shows. We're going to have some weeks off. Technically, we have 5 more free weeks that we could take off over the next few weeks. We'll see how it goes, but we'll be here as much as we can. Appreciate that you want us here. Okay, last week we did I did a contest. If you got the Motocross of Nations podium correct, we put you up for a set of FXR gear. Nobody that sent in any got the podium correct, but I took a random draw on guys that were close, and Coat Hauer was pretty close. He went Australia, Netherlands, USA, so 2 and 3 were swapped. And then he went France and Spain, and I think that's 4 and 5, and those were swapped. That's pretty close. Mm-hmm. So not going to give you a set of gear, but if you email me back, Coat, with your address, and you're in the continental U.S., or if you want to pay for shipping, I will get you a hat and a shirt from FXR, so you can get a casual set. T-shirt, hat. So send me your shipping address. Go on fxrracing.com, pick out a hat and a shirt. Let me know your size, your color, your part number, etc., and I'll get you hooked up. So thanks for playing. Thanks for everybody that sent those in.
I was closer than him, so I'll be expecting my package.
Well, as a part-time, soon-to-be full-time co-host, you are not eligible.
Okay.
We'll
as long as TJ doesn't come back, that's fine.
Right. We'll save these other emails for next week. I do want to thank EVS Sports. Over the past 39 years, EVS Sports has established itself as the leader in innovation and technology when it comes to designing protection gear for today's motocross riders. Athletes like RJ Hampshire, Kyle Chisholm, Freddie Norrin, Axel Hodges, and Travis Pastrana all wear EVS when they race, ride, or whatever Travis decides to do that day. Check out EVS-sports.com. Use the code VITALMX30. That's all caps to save and gear up like the pros. I'm sure almost all of you guys, if you're riding, are using something EVS or have, maybe need a chest protector, maybe need some knee braces or knee guards. Use that promo code VitalMX30 to save. Get hooked up. No race next weekend, so no picks right now. Anything else before we wrap this up? And we could kind of go into these emails, but I think next week we're going to not have a lot to talk about necessarily.
Yeah, save them for next week.
So we'll save them. But anything else before we wrap this up, guys?
I think we're good, man.
Scotty?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Chat's good. Everybody's cool.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't heard if Tay Bill Jam got his socks. I know they were
he
shipped.
did and to tell you thank you.
He did get them.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're still gonna talk shit about it.
They said I'm a different character without glasses, and I did it so I didn't have to look at you.
I mean, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to look at me either.
Yeah.
All right. I want to thank Race Tech and Yamaha Motor USA for presenting the show. And I want to thank Guts Racing, FXR, X Brand, Pro X, EVS Protection, Evans Coolant, Barnett Clutches, T-Bolt USA, and ETS Racing Fuels. I want to thank Matt Buyten and Benny Bloss for coming on. A couple of really great interviews. I think next week, well, depending on when everybody gets back from ISDE, we may do an off-road show again. We'll just have to look at it and see what we can do. But, yeah, other than that, guys, I think we're out. Send those emails, motoxpodshow@gmail.com, and thanks for listening.